1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. 42-27. All hell is breaking loose in the NFL world. It really got going yesterday, and I wasn't expecting that because the legal tampering period does open today, and it opened today right at noon. But yesterday, players were just flying off the shelf, and they were either re-signing with their current team or they were seeing players of big names, and it really started on Friday night when Stu was probably having a gummy and a cocktail on his vacation, when we got to see Geno Smith get traded from the Seattle Seahawks to the Raiders. But this has been crazy. And if you're just tuning in, and we can't get to it all, but we'll give you the big headliners so far. Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. Geno Smith to the Raiders. Aaron Rodgers, nothing official yet, but it looks like there's a very good chance he'll be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, yeah, by the way, the Steelers traded a second-round pick for DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf now got a 5-year, $150 million deal. He's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talking about money, and more money, Myles Garrett saw us on Radio Row. He said, it's not about the money. I believed it. And I went into that interview, and I said to myself, how much does he actually want to win? And he had me eating out of the palm of his hand. Oh, yeah, I believe him. He's all in. He's all in about going to a Super Bowl contender. No. He was all in about putting the most amount of money in his bank account, which, you know what? I can't crush him for it. But Myles Garrett got pizzayed by the Cleveland Browns. You won't win anything. What's going to happen to Micah Parsons? What's going to happen to Trey Hendrickson? I don't know. I do know, though, Davante Adams is going to the Los Angeles Rams. So that's pretty much a lot of it. And we'll continue to update you throughout the show. My team actually is having a pulse. Harold Landry, hello. Stu, welcome back on vacation. Robert Spillane, I just stabbed you in the back, brother. Milton Williams, we thought he was going to the Carolina Panthers. Not so fast. Mike Vrabel, who I saw a photo of him playing blackjack, I think, over the weekend, said, we'll ante up. We'll put some more chips in your bag, Mr. Milton Williams. And he ends up winding up with the New England Patriots, and the Patriots also get Carlton Davis. So the big name that we're still waiting to see where he's going to fall is Aaron Rodgers. I will get to that in just a second. But let me give you the initial reaction to Sam Darnold landing with the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is a low-risk, high-reward move for the Seattle Seahawks. And let me just explain it a little bit. Number one, the contract is only a 3-year deal worth $110.5 million with only $55 million guaranteed. So I don't know exactly what went down with the Seahawks and Geno Smith. But Geno Smith was a really good project. You know, everyone thought his career was done, rejuvenated his career, came out of nowhere, had a nice little run in Seattle. But Seattle was at the moment where, do you want to continue this and add more years and more money into his bank account, or do you just rip off the Band-Aid and move on? Now, I thought the Seahawks were in a good position, right? With at the time Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, DK Metcalf. You have Kenneth Walker in that backfield. You had a team with the first-year head coach this past year just miss out on the postseason. They had a solid season. I thought Seattle was turning out to be a happening destination, and they just needed to go get a quarterback. I don't know exactly what went down, because I saw one report that the Seahawks are willing to meet the asking price of Geno Smith, and they were willing to give him a new contract, 2 years, anywhere in the range he was asking for of $40 to $45 million. Whatever transpired, though, and maybe it was that video that Grant Cohn had on his flight where he saw John Schneider and also Mike McDonald in first class and Pete Carroll. This is what Hall of Famers do. This is what legends do. They fly in coach and they sit in an emergency exit. And remember, Pete Carroll on that flight to the Combine walked up to John Schneider. He walked up to Mike McDonald. Was that the start of, hey, is my old friend Geno Smith available? So I don't know how it did go down, but what I do know is for a third-round pick, Geno Smith is now off to the Raiders, and all eyes were on the Seahawks. And Sam Darnold's name popped up there. There was a little conversation. I don't think anything seriously about Aaron Rodgers. You know, could Seattle just tank, and could they just totally reset and then go all in for Arch Manning come the draft of next year? You know, it's clear that I don't want to say Seattle is rebuilding, but they are significantly retooling because Lockett's no longer there. DK Metcalf got traded, and now you still have Jackson Smith-Njigba, but you made a move at the quarterback position. And the reason why I think it's low risk, high reward for the Seahawks is, do I think Sam Darnold's going to go on to be the next franchise quarterback of the Seahawks where he's there for a decade? No, I do not. But Geno Smith reached his apex in Seattle. Would I have liked to see in Seattle, if they're replacing Geno Smith, get a more long-term plan, get a bigger name in there? Of course, but you're now getting younger at the quarterback position with the guy that saved his career in Sam Darnold, had a good season last year, and you don't have the most pieces in Seattle, but you got Jackson Smith-Njigba as long as he could stay healthy. You got something for Sam to work with. You got the run game of Kenneth Walker. And now we'll see what Sam Darnold can do with less weapons around him compared to when he was just in Minnesota and he had Justin Jefferson, he had Jordan Addison, he had TJ Hawkinson, and he had Aaron Jones, right? That's what this is for Seattle. But the number one thing is if it goes south for the Seahawks, if it does not work, it's not that you tied yourself down to someone that it prevents you from moving off of the quarterback, because the guaranteed money is only $55 million, according to early reports. So good, low risk, somewhat of a high reward move for the Seattle Seahawks. Am I sitting there thinking that Sam Darnold's going to go be the stud in Seattle? No, but I've seen crazier things happen, especially in Seattle. Just look at their last two quarterbacks. Matt Flynn was there. Russell Wilson says, not so fast. He goes on to be a franchise quarterback there, gets us 2 Super Bowls, and wins a Super Bowl. Then we just saw Geno Smith. No one ever thought he was going to be able to replace Russell Wilson. He had a nice run the last few years in Seattle, and now they hand the baton over to Sam Darnold. So that's the Seahawks side of it. Now let's get to the Raiders. I know we talked about this, and I'm not going to say I was stunned. because there's some other news that happened over the weekend where I was stunned. But I was surprised by this one. Now, for the Raiders, I'm curious, what are they going to do with the contract for Geno Smith? And we have not got clarity on that front yet. Could they extend him another year or two and give him the $40-45 million price tag because Geno's on the final year of his deal? I guess you could give him a 2-year extension, really have it just be a 1-year extension, but you dress it up as it's 2 and it's easy to get out of. I think what this does for the Raiders is it gives them a competent, reliable, average, above average name at the quarterback position until they make their next move. Because quietly, the Raiders, even though I don't think they're going to be great, even though I don't think they're going to be good, but they have enough to just be a football team that they're going to be middle of the road. Like, if the Raiders win 8 games next year, they're hovering 8-9, 9-8. Would I be shocked? I wouldn't be. But you take a look at the Raiders, you kept Max Crosby, you have Christian Wilkins on the defensive side of the ball, you have Pete Carroll coming on in, who, let's be real, he's basically working with only 3 years, and that's on a 3-year contract. Geno's going to be at the quarterback position. There's familiarity with that staff. And you look around, you have Brock Bowers, you have Jacoby Myers. Like, do you have the greatest names in the world? No. But what will the Raiders now do at 6? I don't think in signing Geno Smith or trading for Geno Smith, this takes him out of the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes. But I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to be there at 6. I think the Raiders are going to have to move up to get Shedeur, because I still do believe that Tennessee's taking Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick unless the Giants move up. And then I would say that Shedeur Sanders right now today is going to be the 2nd overall pick of the draft. So really for the Raiders, and if I'm a Raiders fan, I can see why some Raiders fans are like, okay, we're fine with this. Do they take Ashton Genty now at 6? Could they trade back, get some future assets, still get Ashton Genty? I don't know. The Raiders have a lot of holes. But if the Raiders next year go 8-9, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Now, I'm not saying you jump up and down and you're a fat kid in a candy store, but it's about just returning the Raiders to somewhat of respectability. And I'm curious, I know Stu, when he was on vacation, initially liked it. Now he's had Saturday, Sunday, and some of Monday to let it really process and marinate, and he's been able to digest it. But this is just a move by the Raiders where I never fault them for getting rid of Derek Carr, but it's clear that they've had no plan since getting rid of Derek Carr to replace him correctly. They tried for Brady. Brady retired. They didn't make enough of an effort at the time for Aaron Rodgers. Bringing in Jimmy G, we all knew it at the time. Not only was it going to be a disaster, it was going to be an unmitigated disaster. Last year was a punt year with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Minshew has a marvelous mustache, but he's not a marvelous quarterback. Now you bring in Geno Smith, which he's fine, but you're kind of back in the boat where you were with Derek Carr, where it's like you have a serviceable quarterback, you have a good quarterback, you have a quarterback that at times could produce top 10 stat numbers, but he's never a guy that ever gets viewed as, oh, that's our franchise quarterback, that's our dude that we're rocking and rolling with, and we're winning games. So Stu, who is dressed in his Lakers purple today, as the Lakers do play the Nets at the Barclays Center tonight, where you will not have LeBron James, because LeBron James is going to miss some time. You will have Luka Doncic on the court, but Stu is in a purple hat, and he's in a purple sweatshirt. You're probably a little sweaty today, by the way, Stu. It's getting a little warm here in New York City in that sweatshirt.
Yeah, it is. I am adjusting from warmer temperatures, though, so it just kind of feels cold for me from the past few days. But
bougie Arizona guy. Now, forget about the Lakers. Sure. Let's get to your Raiders. Give me the thought, Geno Smith to the Raiders, and where you're at on this one.
I like it. It is not something I had really considered. I think you said it best. It wasn't shocking, but it was kind of surprising. That's kind of where I land on that, too. I didn't think that was an option, but to be honest, of all the free agent or trade options, I think Geno was probably the best one, where you're not committed to someone long-term like a Darnold, and it's someone that, he is 34, but he's not like Rodgers or Cousins.
Well, he basically didn't play for a decade, so yeah, it's a younger 34.
It's a younger 34.
And there's familiarity with this coaching staff, which is big.
Yeah.
What do you want to do at 6? Like, let me ask you this now. Are you thinking about Ashton Genty now? at 6? Because I know before this deal you weren't. You're like quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. Now, since they have a stopgap guy there, I probably am not expecting one of the top 2 quarterbacks to be there at 6. You have a tight end in Brock Bowers, so you don't need Tyler Warren. There's not like a great wide receiver that's probably going to be available at 6. Could you get a nice defender? Sure. There's like 3 linebackers in this draft, edge rushers that are all kind of getting grouped like just past 6. So would you be open to Ashton Genty, and then you line up with Brock Bowers at tight end, Jacoby Myers at wide receiver. You got Ashton Genty at running back, and then at the quarterback position, you would have Geno Smith, and I would imagine you'd have to go sign another wide receiver as well.
I probably still would not do Genty at 6. I think if Mason Graham falls, I would take him, make that defensive line, pretty much elite.
There'd be already some beef on that defensive line, be extra beef on that defensive line.
Yeah, him, Crosby, and Wilkins, I think would be great. Assuming Graham is gone, I would probably then take the best offensive lineman, which they desperately need help at. And you want to protect Geno Smith. That's what he didn't get in Seattle, so you kind of want to improve that offensive line. Or trade back and get some more assets. And then maybe if you trade back, 7, 8 spots, then maybe take a Genty type of guy.
So that's what we got cooking right out of the gate. Sam Darnold to the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith to the Raiders. I'll get to the DK Metcalf stuff and also why it's looking likely. Nothing's a foregone conclusion. Nothing is definite until it gets announced with Aaron Rodgers. But it seems like Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback of the Steelers. If he's not the quarterback of the Steelers, it seems like he then will probably go to the New York Football Giants. So let me do this. Let me start things off. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. And let's start things off in South Carolina with Jerry, who's first up on the Zach Gelb Show. Jerry, what's shaking, my man?
Hey, Zach, how's it going, buddy?
Doing great. What do you got for me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the 2 acquisitions, Fields and Darnold. Yeah, Fields to the Jets sounds like an excellent move for the Jets. Perfect fit. I think that's what Aaron Glenn was looking for, getting Fields, so that'll be a good start for him. Surround him with, I think, Wilson already there, the wide receiver, and Hall, the running back. So they have some playmakers there. Then Darnold to the Seahawks. That sounds like a move. I knew the Seahawks were going to do that since they let Smith go to the Raiders. So now the Seahawks letting Lockett and Metcalf go. Now they need to get another wide receiver to the team up with Jackson and Jigba. So how you feel about that? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think they need another wide receiver now. Who is it going to be? Not sure, if I'm just being honest with you. I know they have some other guys on that roster that they do like. But is this going to necessarily be someone that, that they have in the roster that, oh, no, they can't go make a move and they can't go, they got to go get someone else. You got Noah Fant, who's a solid tight end. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I think is a very good wide receiver. You got the 1-2 punch, if they're healthy, at the running back spot at Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Maybe they go address that need in the draft. That's a possibility, but that's a crapshoot in the first or second round. So let's do this. We'll take a break here. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Ooh, Josh Sweat. He is now signing with the Arizona Cardinals on a 4-year deal. $76.4 million per Adam Schefter. He reunites with Jonathan Gannon. There was a talk show host just 2 weeks ago who said, Josh Sweat, where is he going to go? Oh, I think that guy's name was Zach Gelb. And I think he said that he's probably going to go to Arizona and reunite with Jonathan Gannon. So there you go on that. My predictions are looking okay right now. Back in 2021, I was saying that the Steelers should go get Aaron Rodgers. So now they're finally starting to listen. Maybe I could leave the network and be a GM in the NFL. My QB predictions 1.0 were this. Rodgers to the Steelers, Kirk Cousins to the Browns, Matthew Stafford staying with the Rams, Russell Wilson to the Colts, Justin Fields to the Jets, and Sam Darnold to the Raiders. So we've been decent out of the gate to start. And then I did have a tweet. This was going way back. Let me just find it. Twitter's been a mess today. An absolute mess. In and out. 12 o'clock happened. Twitter down. My Starbucks today was down. They're at a cold brew still. Starbucks was at a cold brew. So I know the people in Starbucks, right? I go there every day. Hey, Zach, how you doing? There was a new lady behind the register. And I said, usually when you don't have cold brew, they just give me an iced coffee and they put 2 shots in it. Oh, she tried to charge me for the 2 shots. and it would have made my coffee that's usually like $5.75, like $9.75. And I said to her, I go, I'm not paying for the 2 extra shots. She's like, well, what do you want me to do? I go, they never charge me when you guys are out of cold brew. Like, I said, nice, polite. It's like, you're out of cold brew. I go, I shouldn't have to pay more because you guys are out of cold brew and you're going to give me some like light coffee. So she was like, well, I can't do that. So I said, okay, then I'm walking. I said, I'm walking up 2 blocks. There's another Starbucks. I bet you they'll have their cold brew. So, I don't want to have to call Jordan Schultz and, maybe then confront him in a Starbucks and be like, hey, what's up with your old man's, company? What's going on? But geez Louise, we expected Starbucks to at least have the cold brew today. And I was very annoyed that I had to go walk an extra 2 blocks, but it was out of principle. I felt like I was striking. I'm like, I'll walk. I go, there's a Starbucks 2 blocks up here that I know they have the cold brew. Anyway, this was back on December 22nd. Sam Darnold in the NFL was known for mono and seeing ghosts. It's awesome to see someone who was completely written off have this redemption season. Vikings have a good system, and I still think they're going to J.J. McCarthy in 2025. The Seahawks would be a good spot for Sam. Nostradamus Zach. Ooh. All righty, we'll take a time out here. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, we react to DK Metcalf landing with the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers probably joining him. Myles Garrett lying to us on Radio Row. And also, what does it mean for Micah Parsons and Trey Hendrickson? A whole lot more to do. We'll be back in 5.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
I'll tell you, this is an underrated signing. According to Adam Schefter, the Bills are signing Josh Palmer, now formerly of the Chargers, to a 3-year, $36 million contract per Adam Schefter. You know, is that a huge name? No. But if you look at the wide receiving corps in Buffalo, you got Keon Coleman, you got Khalil Shakir, they just repaid, or they just paid more money to. You throw in Josh Palmer. You know, we'll see what happens with Amari Cooper. But you got, at the tight end spot, Dalton Kincaid needs to take that next step. Dawson Knox is a solid player. You know, you got to get the deal done with James Cook. But I think Josh Palmer could be someone where we look at this this year and next year, and we're like, okay, he had some similar production to what Gabe Davis did in Buffalo. And I know Gabe Davis this past offseason ended up in Jacksonville. So I think Josh Palmer to the Bills is an underrated signing. But let's get to DK Metcalf. So traded over the weekend, traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Seahawks, they're revamping their team. Tyler Lockett, gone. You have Geno Smith now on the Raiders. Sam Darnold now going to be joining the Seattle Seahawks on a 3-year deal, $110.5 million, $55 million guaranteed. And DK Metcalf, he wanted out. I guess the Seahawks didn't want to pay him, and they ended up getting a second-round pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers for DK Metcalf, and the Steelers are giving him a 5-year, $150 million contract. 2 things on this. Number one, heck of a job by the Pittsburgh Steelers. A second-round pick. They've been trying for the last few years to go get another wide receiver to complement George Pickens. It didn't work with Brandon Ayuk. You know, there were a few other people that were out there that they tried the last few years, and nothing ever came to fruition out of it. Now, you go get DK Metcalf, and you paid him, which is more than fine. You knew you had to give him a new deal. But I'm curious what that relationship is going to be like with George Pickens. Because George Pickens is a me guy. You've seen it the last few years of his career to start his career in Pittsburgh. When George Pickens gets the ball, he is the happiest person in the world. But when he doesn't get the targets, even when the Steelers were winning games, sometimes couldn't get an extra foot down. If you remember one of those primetime games, he becomes a malcontent. And that's just the reality of the situation. And we're going to learn a lot about the maturity of George Pickens and how he responds to that trade. I have not heard really anything from George Pickens since this trade did go down, so that's an encouraging start. But remember, George Pickens and Deontay Johnson had issues. The difference is, though, Deontay Johnson a little bit different than DK Metcalf. No one ever viewed Deontay Johnson as a number one wide receiver. DK Metcalf is the elite of elite in the wide receiving club in the NFL? No, but he can be a number one wide receiver in this league. I think DK Metcalf is better than George Pickens. But I'm curious how these two are going to work together. And I think a lot more of it is going to be on George Pickens than DK Metcalf, because remember, now DK Metcalf is going on his turf, and the Steelers just gave him a contract when George Pickens wants a new deal, and Omar Khan's like, yeah, we like him, we've had encouraging talks, But even Mark Caboli joined us, and he's like, yeah, I don't expect the deal to get done because I don't think the Steelers actually have an intention to get a deal done. So to see how this relationship works with DK Metcalf and George Pickens is fascinating. And then, oh yeah, by the way, probably throw in Aaron Rodgers. Because is Aaron Rodgers really going to the Giants? Is he? You know, last week was finally the first week where I moved off of Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers because Caboli came on with us and he was so adamant about Justin Fields staying with the Steelers. I'm like, here are the Steelers again, punting, right? Not making what they should do, the number one move that they should make at the quarterback position. But it seems like the Giants, they're getting used, man. They are getting used. And would Rodgers go to the Giants? Sure. But the Giants are in a very interesting spot because they have the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Right now, they couldn't get Justin Fields, right? I'm not even saying that they wanted Justin Fields. Sam Darnold's off the board. Geno Smith is off the board. Like, you're looking around the quarterbacks that were available. Kirk Cousins isn't available right now. And you're like, who's going to be the quarterback for the Giants this year? Because the Giants with Joe Shane, they need to get a guy unless if they just trade up to the number 1 overall pick, because you can't run the risk of what happened last year where you don't get your guy in the draft, then you pass on a quarterback. Sure, you got Malik Neighbors, that's nice, but then you didn't get a quarterback and you had to go back to someone that you didn't want in Daniel Jones. So it feels like for the Giants, I don't think they're getting Aaron Rodgers. So I would then say Russell Wilson, right, would be out of a job in Pittsburgh. The Jets already made a move for Justin Fields. We've heard rumors the last few years. Initially, remember when Russ was trying to leave Seattle? Oh, Sierra, his wife, would love to go to New York, would love to go to the Giants, right? So maybe this is a one-year deal where you see Russ go to the Giants, where Russ is in a spot of, hey, you may be the starting quarterback, but if we're sitting there at 3 and Shedeur Sanders is still there, we're going to go take Shedeur Sanders. And you know what? I just saw this during the break too, Stu. Because this has kind of been messing us up mentally. Adam Schefter before the Combine saying the thing he's most confident in this draft is that the Browns are taking a quarterback with their first-round selection. ESPN Cleveland just released audio from Schefter this morning. Schefter did a little walk back on that. So he's saying he's no longer as confident as he was before the Combine. So I thought I knew how the first 2 picks of the draft were going to go. Now I don't have a damn clue. Right? You look at Tennessee, I still think they're going to take Cam Ward at 1 or the Giants will move up to 1. Then at 2, what does Cleveland do? They don't need to take Abdul Carter. They just re-signed Myles Garrett. We didn't expect that to happen. Could they take Travis Hunter? Absolutely. If they take a quarterback in Shedeur Sanders, I'm still more than fine with that. I still think they should do that. But if they pass on the quarterback, then the Giants go get their quarterback at 3 with Shedeur Sanders if they don't trade up to 1 to go get Cam Ward. So there's a lot still there on the table. But getting back to Rodgers, I think the Steelers, and I said this before multiple times, even though it's a risk, even though I don't know what I'm getting out of Aaron Rodgers, but they don't have a long-term plan. So I issued a 3-step plan to get the quarterback situation taken care of this year in Pittsburgh just the other week. And I said option number 1 should be signing Aaron Rodgers. That's all on the table. A lot of people think that's going to happen. If you can't sign Aaron Rodgers, let's say he goes somewhere else, then Sam Darnold. Well, now Sam Darnold's not on the table. And then my 3rd-step plan after that, the 3rd option would be bring back Justin Fields. Well, Justin Fields is no longer available. He's off to the Jets. So the Steelers, they could be a fun watch this year where I don't think anyone's going to think that they're going to go to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Heck, they haven't been out of the first round of the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. But if you just get what you saw from Rodgers in the last 10 games of the season, that's still a top 15 quarterback in this league. You have DK Metcalf. You also you have George Pickens, as long as he wants to just stay there and he doesn't just keep on messing himself up and being his own worst enemy and shooting himself in the foot. I don't think Najee Harris is going to be back, but I've seen crazier things happen. And on the defensive side of the ball, you just hope the defense gets back to the defense that they've been the last few years and not what they were last year. Because last year, I think, was an anomaly for that Steelers defense. So pretty much what the Steelers are trending to be is like a 10-win football team. They'll probably be a wild card team if they get Rodgers, right? It's not a lock, but the last few years they've been teetering right there, be a wild card team or not. And with Rodgers, they have a chance to win a playoff game. I'm not saying they will, But for Aaron Rodgers, you could then end your career. It's not the ultimate high note, but it's a fine note instead of basically the disaster that happened with the Jets. If you go to the Steelers, make the playoffs, and you win a playoff game, it's a fine note for you to walk out in your career and then end your career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But there will be a lot of drama there because Tomlin, he's not a drama guy, but Tomlin's press conferences are awesome. DK Metcalf just got the contract. George Pickens is all about drama. And we know Aaron Rodgers says he's not about drama, but he is about drama. So that's where I kind of read the Steelers situation. I'm just waiting for the breaking news report that Aaron Rodgers landing with the Steelers. Because I'd be surprised at this point if the Steelers go somewhere else. Because where else are they turning to? At this rate, it would have to be, Russell Wilson? Because Darnold's off the board. Geno Smith got traded. Fields is now off to the Jets. At this rate, unless if they're trading for Kirk Cousins, which I don't think so, I think that they got to get this deal done with Aaron Rodgers, and then all eyes are on what the Giants do for the quarterback position this year. And then the Giants, Joe Shane, draft quarterback. And you got to find one this year. So who knows? Maybe the Browns won't take a quarterback at 2 with the change and shift with Adam Schefter. So a whole lot to do today, obviously. NFL going to dominate the show. Patrick Peterson is going to join us coming up in about 30 minutes from now. He'll join us right at the top of the hour at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. But we come on back. Myles Garrett stays with the Browns. What does this mean for Micah Parsons? What does this mean for Trey Hendrickson? And now Davante Adams getting back into the wide receivers. He's off to the Rams. Where are the Rams in contending for a Super Bowl? And what the heck are they going to do with Cooper Kupp as well? We'll get into all that on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach on their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. The signings keep coming as the top guard is off the market. Aaron Banks leaves San Francisco for a 4-year, $77 million deal with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers out with the Jets and could resurface in Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, replacing him in New York is Justin Fields, who leaves the Steelers for a 2-year deal with $30 million guaranteed. Sam Darnold cashed in on his big year in Minnesota, leaving for a 3-year deal in Seattle worth over $100 million. He thrived under Kevin O'Connell, but his offensive coordinator with the Seahawks is Clint Kubiak, whom he worked with in San Francisco. J.C. Horn becomes the highest paid corner, 4 years from the Panthers, worth a total of $100 million, and 70% of that is guaranteed, while Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams heads to New England on a 4-year, $104 million deal, $63 million in guaranteed money. The Eagles also lose Josh Sweat to the Cardinals on a 4-year deal with 41 of the $76 million guaranteed. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's time to ask the pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. We got some news in the NFL. The Bears, according to Adam Schefter via Ari Murov of My Sports Update, are signing former Falcons Pro Bowl defensive tackle Grady Jarrett to a 3-year, $43.5 million contract. He was released by Atlanta this morning after 10 years there, and it only took a few hours for Grady Jarrett to find a new home. I'll tell you, I like what the Bears are doing. I like what the Bears are doing. The Bears. I like it. They're being aggressive. I said I wouldn't get optimistic about the Bears until they are in the postseason. But now they got Joe Thuney. They also made a move for Jonah Jackson. Earlier this morning, they signed Drew Dahlman, offensive lineman, and they trade for Grady Jarrett. And you get Ben Johnson in there. I kind of like what I'm seeing out of the Bears. Which probably means in November, when the Bears aren't playing well and there's questions about Caleb Williams, there's questions about Ben Johnson, and one of these linemen get hurt, or I'm going to be sitting back there and doing the Saturday Night Live skit, the Bears. Let's hope not. That NFC North is fun. Lions, can they get over the hump? They've been circling. The Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, they're going to go get him a number one wide receiver. You take a glance at the Minnesota Vikings, probably handing the baton over to J.J. McCarthy. Now with Sam Darnold going to the Seattle Seahawks. And then you got the Bears. And we'll see if the Bears can take that next step. By the way, talking about the Packers, they have signed guard Aaron Banks to a 4-year, $77 million deal per Ian Rappaport rap sheet. One more note on DK Metcalf going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Stu, if you had to identify a loser in this, and I'm not talking about the Seahawks, I'm not talking about the Steelers, and I'll ask this question to Samter as well. Who are the biggest two losers, the two biggest losers that they were not able to shell out a second-round pick and then pay DK Metcalf? Is there a team that jumps out to mind to you?
Yeah, the one that jumps out to me are the Chargers. I think they needed to get Herbert a viable weapon, and I feel like Metcalf would have been perfect for that offense in Herbert.
Okay, that was one destination that I had circled. I actually just did a sports minute on this. I recorded it during the break. Samter, do you think you could identify the other destination? This team is a loser in not getting DK Metcalf.
I mean, my Jets are always the losers. No, but I would go with the Bills. I would say the Bills needed an upgrade over Josh Palmer, who they ended up with. So I think the Bills, they're losing Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman. I would go Buffalo.
So since Josh Allen is already a great quarterback, and you want to talk about people getting paid, and outside of not having a Super Bowl, you know, if you tell me out of all the quarterbacks that haven't won a Super Bowl that are in the NFL, how would you not want to be Josh Allen? You just got that contract. You also got engaged to a very, very attractive woman. Like right now, the only problem that Josh Allen has in his life is that he plays great in all these playoff games. And they can't find a way to win them for him. But it's not the Bills. I think it's my Patriots. Because Josh Allen's already established. Josh Allen's already an MVP. Justin Herbert's good, but they want to take that next step. Drake May, I think, is going to be good, but they wanted to be a household name. Not getting DK Metcalf, that was one for me where I was like, really don't like that one. Especially when it's only a second-round pick, and I get it. It's a 5-year, $150 million deal, but it ain't my money, folks. That's another thing. I see all these people today, oh, my goodness gracious, I can't believe my team spent this much money. It ain't your money. And the salary cap just keeps on going up and up and up and up. You know, the ceiling is the roof, as MJ would say. Remember when Michael Jordan said that at UNC? But I take a look at the Chargers, I take a look at the Patriots. Not only do you have DK Metcalf off the board, you also have Davante Adams off the board. He's going to the Rams. So we obviously knew that. Here's the thing with Davante Adams and the Rams. I like this move. I'm not going to doubt Sean McVay on the offensive side of the ball. I look at the Rams, Stafford back, Kyron Williams there. He's a stud. Puka Nacua. You got Davante Adams. Can they find a way, just like they did with Stafford, to find a little middle ground here and have Cooper Kupp stay? Now, it's different than Stafford because Stafford wanted more money. Cooper Kupp already has a ridiculous contract, but he's only played in, I think, 33 games in the last 3 years. So will Cooper Kupp restructure take a little less in order to stay with the Rams? And if not, then where does Cooper Kupp land? Because I don't think you're going to, if DK Metcalf, who's younger, is only going for a 2, like, is it crazy to say that Cooper Kupp would only go for a 5th? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to, for a guy that's only played in 33 games in the last 3 years, and he's still very productive, I don't think you're getting more than a 5th, maybe a 5th that could turn into a 4. So could the Bills still be an option? Yes. Could the Packers be an option? Yes. The Patriots, could they be an option? Yes. Could the Chargers be an option? Ooh, talk about exciting lights. Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship move over. Imagine if you get that Ladd McConkey along with Cooper Kupp. That would be fun to watch. So there are some destinations for Cooper Kupp. But if I'm Cooper Kupp, maybe I would take less. and say, hey, I'm going to stay with the Rams. And can you imagine the Rams on offense? They tried out Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, and Kyron Williams. Hello, that would be fun. I think the Rams right now are the third best team in the NFC. Eagles 1, Lions 2, Rams 3. Commanders circling. Cowboys, can they make the postseason? Sure, they're not a top 3 team, though, in the NFC. You take a glance around the rest of the NFC in the North. I'm curious to see what the Vikings do with J.J. McCarthy this year. I'm curious to see what the Packers do the rest of the offseason. The Bears, stellar start to the offseason. But none of those teams come off to me right now as top 3 teams in the NFC. In the NFC South, all right, Chris Godwin back with the Bucs. Left money on the table. I think he left $20 million on the table, I read, to not go to New England. Nice story with Baker, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. I don't think they're a top 3 team in the NFC. Who else could potentially emerge? Like the Niners. The Niners are losing a lot. And yet a lot of guys that are older coming off injuries. And the Seahawks, they just got rid of DK Metcalf and Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett. Sure, they get Sam Darnold, but that team still has a lot of work to do. So I think the Rams right now are the favorite to win the NFC West. And I also think the Rams are the third best team in the NFC behind the Eagles and the Detroit Lions. Let me get to Myles Garrett. This was in early February where Myles Garrett joined us right here on the Zach Gelb Show, live in person. We were at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. I could use a beignet right now. Ooh, I'm really hungry. But Myles Garrett joined us, and this is what he told us on why he requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns.
This is all about football. It's not about money or attaining another contract. Just want to play meaningful football at the end of the year, be playing it to late into January and into February, and having that feeling of holding that trophy.
I think a lot of people, because this clip has recirculated ever since Myles Garrett, it was announced that he's staying in Cleveland, and the new deal averages $40 million per year. It includes $123.5 million in guaranteed. They expected me to erupt. Right? Because Myles Garrett basically lied to my face. I understand it. I get it. And players and fans, we have a great disconnect. I don't fault players who leave everything on the field for staying in a destination where they have no shot to win in order to get the most amount of money. And for Myles Garrett, how genuine were his intentions? Because when he first said that to us, I'm like, okay, I believe him. He'd be in on going to the Eagles. He'd be in on going to the Chiefs, the Bills, the Commanders, the Lions, teams that have a chance to go win a Super Bowl, and he could be the missing piece to already have won a Super Bowl in Kansas City or Philadelphia. But then the Browns said, well, we're not trading you. And I'm surprised how quickly Myles Garrett did cave, because this could have got nasty. He didn't allow it to get nasty. But when the Browns basically say, hey, we're going to make you the highest paid non-quarterback in the league and give you a deal $40 million per year, $123.5 million guaranteed. Okay, you want to win. But you could also do this stupid, from Cleveland to Canton, what they keep on pushing. So it's unfortunate because the fan in me says Myles Garrett is a great player. Myles Garrett is either the best or the second best defensive player in the league. He's one of the most powerful non-quarterbacks in the league. I would have liked to have seen Myles Garrett go to an actual Super Bowl contender. But am I going to crush a guy for taking the money? No. Because football's a lethal game. And yes, as a fan, I want to see him go win games. And I'm sure he wants to win games, but there's other priorities. And getting a deal like that, the Browns somehow, some way made him an offer that he can't refuse. Now, what's going to happen with Micah Parsons? This is also back from the Super Bowl when Micah Parsons joined us and he talked about his future with the Dallas Cowboys.
You got 1 year left on your deal. Do you think the loyalty will be there for you? Do you expect to get something done with the Cowboys this offseason?
I will hope so.
So there's no trade request coming from you? I know, right? People see Myles Garrett with the trade request the other day. People go, oh, I wonder if Micah's going to follow suit there.
No, I don't plan on following suit. As long as I get a deal done, I think I'll be pretty happy.
So that's not like convincing audio, and Micah Parsons has left that open. Where as long as I get a deal done, then I'm not going to request a trade. Like, they got to take care of me. Well, guess what? That price just went up. And this is what happens, Jerry Jones. You mess around, sometimes the game doesn't go your way, and the price just goes up and up and up and up. Ultimately, I do think Micah Parsons and the Cowboys, there will be a lot of drama. This is going to get dragged out. This is what the Cowboys always do. Just look at Dak Prescott last year, and they'll find a way to reset the market and get a deal done. But now I think this further complicates the Trey Hendrickson market, and I think the Bengals will get a deal done with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I'm not optimistic now that they'll find a way to get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson, and I think they'll ultimately trade him. Patrick Peterson joins us next. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, welcome back in. Hour number 2 of the radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A lot of mayhem going on in the NFL right now. A lot of money getting thrown around. And we'll get out to the guest line right now. Welcome an 8-time Pro Bowler, a member of the NFL 2010s All-Decade Team. And he's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, played for the Arizona Cardinals, played for the Minnesota Vikings, played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now does a bunch in the podcasting world here for Odyssey, along with Andrew Filipponi. Also does a podcast with his cousin in Bryant McFadden. And that, of course, is Patrick Peterson. Pat, appreciate the time as always. How you been, my man?
Man, thanks for having me, man. Always good to be on with you guys.
All righty, let me start you off with the Steelers. Give me your reaction when you found out over the weekend that they traded a second-round pick, also going to give a 5-year, $150 million deal to DK Metcalf with him coming over to the Steelers.
Yeah, that was a big-time pickup for the Steelers just because now they're, although they don't have a quarterback, their quarterback situation kind of, settled just yet, but they're giving their quarterback some security that they have at least 2 receivers that can win their one-on-one matchups. Right now it's just going to come down to if we can keep both of those receivers on the same page and the quarterback on the same page and having a level head for the most part, because we know both of those receivers have a history of being hotheads. But for the most part, I love what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing right now, addressing the receiver room now that they have another guy that is a bona fide, 50-50 ball catcher winner on the outside. Now they just have to go out there and find their quarterback that they feel that can get those guys the ball.
See, I love the way that you mentioned up the teammate component of this with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. I like what the Steelers did. I still think I need to see more out of George Pickens before I feel comfortable giving him a long-term deal, but he is on the final year of his contract, and now you have someone else coming onto your turf and getting paid. I know DK is a heck of a talent, but how do you think George Pickens is kind of feeling the last 24 to 48 hours?
Probably, just being there, being in that Steelers locker room. I know George is feeling some type of way, but at the end of the day, he has to go out there and earn it. I feel like DK Metcalf, being a guy who I went up against, spending some time in Arizona, like he's a guy who's earned, the right to be, considered as a top 10, top 5 receiver in this league. A guy that can win on a consistent basis, a guy who has been, seen as a modern day receiver as far as his production and what he is in the locker room. Now we all know that he get in his, scruffles, on the field with other, with opposing teams. But for the most part, we know what we're going to get from DK Metcalf if the ball is, thrown in his facility. So I feel like George has a lot to still prove on the table to show the Steelers and other NFL teams that he's worthy of a, north of a $30 million, $25 million, annually, contract deal. Because at the end of the day, you covered this game for a long time. I've been in this game for a long time. It's a lot that comes with, being a top tier paid, receiver. And I just feel like there are some areas that George still need to clean up for him to be considered one of those guys.
For you, when you were his teammate, and you know that he has an incredible amount of talent, but he could sometimes be his own worst enemy, where you were just like, hey, young fella, you gotta grow up here. You don't gotta freak out every time you don't get the ball, even though it's coming from a good place, because man, that guy one moment could be the happiest guy in the world, and then the next moment he could be the most miserable, and it's really a detriment to the team at times.
Man, honestly, what I take that back to is, this NIL stuff, man, the way these guys are coming into the league. I could just remember when I came into the league that guys was just always hungry or didn't want to screw up their reputation for the next deal. Now with, the modern day NFL, you have every guy want to pretty much have their own brand. You have Instagram, you have, guys pretty much driving their own narrative. But at the end of the day, these guys who are willing to give you these contracts may not feel a certain way or may not be walking the same path that you're walking, that you think that's representing your brand in the right way. You know what I mean? So I just feel like, just the modern day is kind of like, blindsiding a lot of guys on the real goal or the real motive, what's in front of them, because so much more that is at hand for them, that's accessible for them is kind of like, is not giving them the right direction or the right perspective on what is really out there for them.
Patrick Peterson here with us. You can listen to him, All Things Covered, with Patrick Peterson and Brian McFadden. Also, you can check him out via Odyssey on First and Pod, along with Andrew Filipponi, two great podcasts that he does host. So for the Steelers at the quarterback position, Pat P., we know Justin Fields is now off to the Jets. Sam Darnold, he landed in Seattle today. Rodgers is still out there. I think it's a foregone conclusion at this point that Rodgers is going to be the one throwing the football to DK Metcalf and George Pickens. How about yourself, and what would you think about that?
Yeah, I don't see that being, a bad idea, just because the history that, Coach Tomlin loved with guys who have a pedigree, guys who have history in this game, that can that can help propel his team to the next level. And I don't really see any clear signs that they're going to, re-sign Justin Fields. I'm not Justin Fields.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. I don't see any indications of that happening. So I can see them going out either getting a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, or possibly even making a trade up and trying to find a quarterback, because there's not many other quarterbacks out there that I feel that will keep the Pittsburgh Steelers in contentions. I think it's just going to come down to Rodgers on how much he's going to be wanting to be paid. But I can see that being, a nice marriage, for a short stint, with him being in Pittsburgh. But other than Rodgers, I don't know who the Pittsburgh Steelers will go after. I think they will probably have to settle for Russell Wilson if no one end up signing him in the next couple hours.
Patrick Peterson here with us. So I know you played in Minnesota for a little bit. Sam Darnold had a nice season. Now they're going to hand the baton over in all likelihood to J.J. McCarthy, with Sam winding up with the Seattle Seahawks. You think that's the right move, even though Sam was winning some games this year? I know it didn't end the right way for the Vikings to let Sam Darnold walk.
Well, the Minnesota Vikings were in a very, very interesting, situation. Obviously they didn't, they wanted Sam to go there and be successful, but I can almost guarantee they wasn't planning on Sam to have the season that he was having this year. You know what I mean? So for the most part, they was already banking on, I won't necessarily say a rebuilding stage, but a refocus on their quarterback room. And I just don't feel like they was really comfortable. I don't know what Seattle gave him. I know that he just signed maybe a couple hours ago, but he got a lucrative deal. Matter of fact, I think it was 3-year, $110.
Yeah, 3-year, $110, $55 million guaranteed.
Yeah, so 55 guaranteed. I just don't feel like with the Minnesota Vikings drafting the quarterback last year, spending the first round draft pick on a quarterback last year, they was not worthy going to be willing to give up, those X amount of dollars to a Sam Darnold who they already wasn't banking on to have them in the position that they was in already. So I can see the direction that the Minnesota Vikings are going in. I don't know what the situation is with Daniel Jones. Maybe that's another quarterback a veteran quarterback who you can have step in there for maybe, the first quarter of the season to still give J.J. McCarthy some time to get, the understanding of the play calling, the understanding of the scheduling and things like that, so you can really hand him over the baton. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the Minnesota Vikings handle their room, because I still don't think it's time to hand J.J. McCarthy the keys, although that they drafted him last year. I'm just always I'm very advocate of giving these young quarterbacks an opportunity to learn their way before you just throw them into the fire.
Now, we saw Aaron Rodgers go from Green Bay to the Jets. We also saw Brett Favre go from Green Bay to the Jets. Brett Favre then wound up in Minnesota. Could you see maybe Rodgers do that, where it could be in the best interest of the Vikings, or you delay JJ another year and you kind of throw a bone to Aaron Rodgers for one final season?
I think, honestly, it's just going to come down to what Aaron is willing to accept. At the end of the day, we all know what his pedigree is, but we also saw what the last two seasons was as far as his performance. I still think he's worthy of being on someone's team, but it also comes with baggage. So therefore, teams are going to have to be understanding of what comes with Aaron Rodgers. What are you willing to pay Aaron Rodgers? What Aaron Rodgers is willing to take? Because it's a lot that's going to come with a 41, soon to be 42-year-old quarterback, into your franchise. And if you really believe that he's going to be the guy that puts you over the pedestal for that 1 or 2 seasons, then pull the plug. But if you don't feel like he's going to be the guy that can put you over, over the hump, or if you have enough pieces around him, or if you are even willing to swallow whatever that he's willing to take for those 2 years to put your teams over the top, that's going to come down to, ownership and, GM making that decision on if they think he's the right guy.
Now, I got to ask you about Myles Garrett, right? Said he wanted to go chase a championship, and then the Browns said, we're not trading you. Then Cleveland gives him a new deal over the weekend, $40 million a year and $123.5 million in guaranteed. The fan of me wants to say, you lied to us. You said you want to go chase a championship, but I get it when a player takes his money and stays with the current team that he's on, even though no one looks at the Browns as a championship contender anytime soon. As a player, how did you kind of process the whole Myles Garrett situation?
As a fan now and as a player then, Myles Garrett didn't lie to us. At the end of the day, that's how he felt in that moment. And then now the team hearing his frustration, hearing that he wants to go elsewhere, the only way that they can make it better is with dollar signs, with making him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the game, ever. You know what I mean? So being a former first-round draft pick, not a former first pick, but, for me, when I was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, I wanted to give them everything that I wanted. You know what I mean? I wanted to win. I wanted to be that player to help them win their first championship. Not saying that the Cleveland Browns are going to ever be in that position right now, but they got 5 years to do it. You know what I mean? So I can kind of understand where Myles was coming from when he requested the trade, because the team wasn't in a very good situation. Then what the team did was make it right. All right, cool. If we're not in a position to make it better right now, we'll give you some insight on what our future plans are. And on top of that, we're going to make you the highest paid non-quarterback, ever. Who's to say if Myles Garrett was to get traded, that the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions or the Kansas City Chiefs, whoever were those teams that are contenders in his mind, was going to give him that type of deal? I don't see none of them doing that. So at the end of the day, Myles Garrett didn't lie to us. The team just made it right. You know what I mean? He pled his frustrations, which were he wanted to be on a contender. He's tired of losing, this, that, and the other. He want to be on a contender. Trade me there. Team was like, no, we're not doing that. Another way that we can make this better, by making you the highest paid non-quarterback.
Before we let you run, Patrick Peterson, defensive backs-wise, I saw Jordan Lewis lands with the Jaguars. Carlton Davis going to the Patriots. They're going to team him up with Christian Gonzalez. When you look at Darius Slay, he winds up in Pittsburgh. Any reactions on any of these cornerback moves using your defensive back mind?
I like the Darius Slay. Like I said earlier on in the show, Coach Tomlin is one of those guys who love those veteran players, those savvy guys who's been in position to not only win, but who are in the position to help the younger generation. I think Darius Slay is going to be a very, very a key component to Joey Porter as he continues to be, a young shutdown cornerback in this league, to continue to, help him learn his way, study the game, and be a professional along the way. So I really, really love that signing by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Carlton Davis, I think that's a security blanket, and now they have a guy who they can really rely on, that can go out and, cover not only number one receiver, but top-tier cornerbacks, and also a guy that can also help the young fella.
Christian Gonzalez, yeah.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez along the way as well, because he showed some flashes in his first 2 years in the NFL. So, I love my DBs. I love to see, not only seeing those guys shine, but seeing those guys getting paid. And it's going to be another fun season to see these, not only these young guys, but these older guys who continue to, pave their way towards Canton, and also their way out of the league, how they finish up their career.
The last time you joined us, it was during the season, and you said, hey, you're still in shape, you're still ready to go if someone wanted to give you a call. Obviously, you didn't return to the gridiron. What's the dealio? You coming back next year, or are you officially done?
I'm not officially done just yet. I have some special news coming out pretty soon. But for the most part, I don't look forward to playing football. I have stayed in the best shape that I can if that phone was to ring. But for the most part, this is a young man's game. I want to just sit back and continue to relax, take my girls to dance practice, cheer practice as I'm doing right now. I'm enjoying that, and also analyze and continue to talking about the game. Being away from the game for a year now, I really found a real joy in that. So hopefully I got enough reps that someone wanted to take a shot on you, boy.
Well, All Things Covered podcast, also First in Pod as well. It seems like what you're saying to me is you're enjoying the golf in life and playing baccarat, right? That's what you're telling me, Pat?
Exactly. Join playing some baccarat, join waking up, cooking the girls breakfast, taking them to school. We just came off of spring break, enjoying the golf life. Now that the weather's starting to get better, going to get back out there on the lake, start catching some stripers, things like that. So I enjoy not having a schedule to have to attend to.
Well, we're looking forward to whatever that announcement is. Pat P, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Patrick Peterson joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We have a blockbuster deal in the NFL, according to Ian Rappaport. The Texans are finalizing a trade of 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil to the, get the gas mask out, Washington Commanders. Now, I haven't seen the return yet, what the picks are that they are giving up. But I like that move for the Commanders. You're getting Laramie Tunsil to protect Jaden Daniels, and you have a team in the Commanders that are a fun destination now with Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson. You got some talent there. So the full trade terms here are the Commanders get Laramie Tunsil on a 2025 fourth-round pick. The Texans get a third-round pick, a seventh-round pick, a 2026 second-round pick, and a 2026 fourth-round pick. Here's my question. What direction are the Texans moving in? This is a great move. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, Commanders. Look at the Commanders. Look at what they've been able to do the last year and a half. It's been unbelievable. But the Texans went from the outhouse to, I don't want to say the penthouse, but a 4-star hotel, right? They were in a terrible spot for years. They get C.J. Stroud, right? They get Will Anderson Jr. You hire DeMeco Ryans, bam, you're in the postseason. Bam, you win a playoff game, and then you lose to the Baltimore Ravens. And then this past year, they were good. They were solid. They didn't take that next step to asserting themselves as a contender. They won a playoff game where Justin Herbert, the only passes he could complete were to the Houston Texans. And the Invitational, the Texans Invitational for the playoffs wild card weekend, Saturday, 4:30 is when they won that game. And then they lost in the next round, where their defense was really good in Danielle Hunter and also in Will Anderson Jr. They were after Patrick Mahomes. They were making him sweat. But on the offensive side of the ball, it was very bland. And I know Tank Dell unfortunately got hurt again, which is just so terrible to see. You had Nico Collins in and out of the lineup, but he proved his worth this year. He's a heck of a player. Stephon Diggs is probably not going to return. You know, they just made the move for Christian Kirk as well. Joe Mixon had a solid season. But trading Laramie Tunsil, I'm curious what the next plan is. Now, is this getting out on a player a year or two early rather than a year or two late, potentially? And you gave up a lot to get Laramie Tunsil at the time. It was worth it. It was very good for the Texans. But now it's like, all right, what direction are you heading into? And I think the Texans are just going to kind of be stuck on wild card round, divisional round. Wild card round, divisional round. They have the quarterback. They have a great star pass rusher. But what are they going to do to take that next step? This is not a next step move in trading Laramie Tunsil. The Commanders are taking a next step move, not the Texans. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network, coming on back right after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So this legal tampering window that opened today at 12, and the new league year starts on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have a few of these deals that go down from the last previous few years where you'll see a player agrees with this team, and then it's, oh, no, he had a change of heart, and he goes somewhere else. So earlier this morning, and sometimes the reporting could just get wrong, it was reported that Milton Williams was going to be leaving the Eagles to go to the Carolina Panthers. And then I'm watching Ian Rappaport do an interview, and he's like, that's not 100% true. He goes, there's other teams that are in. I think he was on with McAfee. And then Milton Williams now lands with the New England Patriots. Well, in the last conversation I mentioned, because this is the way that it was reported, that Darius Slay is going to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? That was the reporting. He's signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, our pal, he just put this article out there. It's a very quick article, but it explains the situation. Cornerback Darius Slay reportedly agreed to terms earlier today with the Steelers. He has not. Per a source with knowledge of the situation, there's no deal yet in place for Slay. Slay is indeed talking to the Steelers. The Eagles also might keep him. Slay remains under contract with the Eagles, but he has permission to speak to other teams to discuss a possible trade. Nothing's expected to be finalized until Wednesday. The 34-year-old Slay has spent 7 years with the Lions and 5 with the Eagles. Now, I'm very confused. Because not only is this he's siding with the Steelers, he's not. I thought last week it was announced that Darius Slay was released by the Eagles. And now he's still under contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, if you recall, last year, people thought Darius Slay was leaving the Eagles in the offseason. And he said, Big Dom, the legendary Big Dom, basically like threw him a cannoli and told him, you don't want to leave the organization. So is Big Dom maybe going over to Darius Slay's house and he's like, you're not leaving. You're not leaving the Eagles. He walks over with the jumpsuit, suit, the gabagool, the cannolis, and he basically convinces Darius Slay to stay. So something interesting is happening there again with history with Darius Slay and the Philadelphia Eagles. And remember, I guess Darius Slay was saying, this was last week, if I'm no longer there, and when I'm no longer there, Reed Blankenship's the next guy up to lead, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson got all caught up in his feelings. They did an autograph signing this weekend in Philadelphia. They had a bunch of players from the Eagles Super Bowl team, and whoever was doing the autograph signing is a genius. He put, or she put, Darius Slay next to C.J. Gardner-Johnson after they just had this social media dust-up right next to each other at the autograph signing. So maybe Darius Big Play Slay will be taking his big play ability to Pittsburgh, or he may be staying in Philadelphia. Anyway, so far, with the new league year upon us, and a lot of trades going down, a lot of free agent signings getting agreed upon and then becoming official on Wednesday, what's the thing that stands out to you the most so far, whether it's a personal interest or just chit-chat around the league? I will start with Stuart Kovacs. What do you have?
Mine obviously is very personal. It has to do with my quarterback situation, and it is Geno Smith going to the Raiders as Sam Darnold goes to the Seahawks to replace Geno Smith. It's weird. I really do like the Geno Smith aspect for the Raiders. The Darnold one is fine. I guess my thing is what's the end game? Like, you're getting rid of Metcalf, even though you didn't want to pay him, and you're getting rid of Geno. To bring in Darnold, it kind of feels like I think
it's a younger stopgap. It's a younger Geno Smith.
That's true.
Where it's $55 million guaranteed. All right, Geno maybe had a wink, hush deal with Pete Carroll, or Pete said to Geno, because they worked together in Seattle, hey, I want to try to come get you, because reportedly the Seahawks offered him a new contract in the range of $40 to $45 million a year, which is the range that he reportedly wanted. Now, it could be the Seahawks say it's this, they leaked that. Geno said, it wasn't exactly what they said. Who knows? But maybe there was something there with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, a little tampering behind the scenes. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities if I was to put on my big boy thinking cap on. So maybe there was something there. But you're right. It's like if the Seahawks are moving off of Geno Smith, you thought there would be a better name coming in. But the fact that Sam is younger, I think it's just, okay, a younger version, even though they're different players, of a Geno Smith, where if in a year or two you don't love Sam Darnold, if you have some Sam Darnold remorse, it's only $55 million guaranteed in a 3-year deal, so you can get out of it. But the Raiders, to me, I'm just curious then what they do with the 6th overall pick in the draft. And I feel like we could talk about Geno Smith. All right, you have an option there. It's better than what it was last year. It didn't really cost you a lot to go get him. There's familiarity with the coaching staff, but it's almost an incomplete grade from the Raiders' point, because I need to see them what they do with the 6th overall pick. Do they take a quarterback? Do they maybe get Ashton Genty? Do they take Mason Graham? Do they trade back? Do they take one of these edge rushers? I got to see what the Raiders do before I fully evaluate it. All right, Samter, what is your topic of conversation here?
I think the Raiders need to go Ty Warren. I mean, they don't have a tight end there in Oakland, in Vegas. So.
You could double up. You could go a little Brock Bowers and Tyler Warren. You know,
Who's
the Patriots
that?
Back in the day. I'm going to mention someone's name that's a little controversial because he's a POS. Well, he's dead anyway. But, when they teamed up Aaron Hernandez, and Rob Gronkowski, had a 1-2 punch right there at the tight end position. Now they have Michael Mayer. Now, Stu, they haven't traded him yet, but they basically told anyone that will listen, hey, we have Michael Mayer available, so therefore if someone wants to come get him, just give us a call.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. He barely played last year. I don't think he's going to be on the Raiders next year.
And Warren could be a possibility there, but you guys have so many needs. You could double up at the tight end position, but you got a lot of needs.
Yeah.
Lot of needs with that Raiders team. They're like Swiss cheese, a lot of holes. All right, what's your one here, Samter?
Mine is one of a guy who didn't change teams. It was the Myles Garrett. That was the biggest news of the week last week, and something that we've been talking about. And the fact that he stayed makes me think that the Browns convinced him, hey, we're building something here. Like,
are you that naive? You think the Browns convinced? Let me tell you something. Let's say you hated my guts, all right, and you wanted to leave my organization. You're like, this is a losing radio program. I'm used to dealing with hosts that win and go get awards and make headlines. Not that we don't do anything of that around here. We actually do quite a bunch of it, but whatever. Let's say you requested a trade, and then I said to you, you know what, Samter? I'm going to give you $40 million a year and guarantee $123 million. You could hate your life. You could know that the job sucks and that you're nowhere close to winning, but someone offers you the most money to a non-quarterback, of course he's going to take it. They wined and dined him. The owner didn't even show up. They just, you know what? They didn't even wine and dine him. They just dropped a big old bag of cash on his front doorstep. And they said, Myles, you're really going to pass up on this? And he said no.
To me, I look at it like basically any team that he would have gotten traded to would have given him a very similar contract. Maybe not quite as much.
I don't know if they could have done this, though. The Eagles, I don't know if they could have. The Chiefs definitely could have. The Bills couldn't have. Like, we're talking about these teams. We're talking about $40 million a year.
But anyone who would have made a deal for Myles Garrett would have had to make him the highest paid non-quarterback of all time. Whether it was $40 million a year or $38, he was getting his bag. So it wouldn't, that to me, I get what you're saying, but for him to want out, I don't think he's ever said he hates Cleveland.
No,
doesn't hate the
wants
coach.
to go win.
He just wants a team that's going to win. And so maybe they were able to say, hey, listen, dude, we're going to draft a quarterback at 2. Right? We're bringing in XYZ. We're reshuffling our things. This nonsense that we've been going through, we're moving on from Deshaun Watson. We're not going to be dealing with that nonsense. Maybe he just realized, you know what? There's talent here and there's a future here. We just need to find the right quarterback. And hey, we bring in Shador, we bring in Cam, whatever we're going to do. Kirk Cousins, they make a trade for whatever they do. I feel like it's more than just the money. He was going to get his bag anywhere he went.
To me, it's the money, and it's only the money. If he was there for only 3 years and he was still a young, naive player, maybe. He's 29, and he's been in Cleveland since 2017. How many plans have they had in Cleveland that continue to just not work, and not work? This is all about the cash. This was a cash grab if I've ever seen one. All righty. Mine is, what the heck is Aaron Rodgers going to do? Because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to join DK Metcalf and George Pickens with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm fascinated to see. You could basically, I would like the Steelers on Hard Knocks. That would be fun. Tomlin, Rodgers, again with Rodgers, George Pickens, and DK Metcalf. Give me those personalities on Hard Knocks. I would sign up for that. I think Aaron Rodgers will be the next quarterback of the Steelers. But the Giants are still an option. Connor Hughes says, Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback the Giants want. They're waiting to find out if he wants them. Most league sources I touch base with believe, according to Connor Hughes, Rodgers headed to the Steelers, which would lead the Giants to Russell Wilson. The problem, dun, 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 dun. The Titans and others are interested in Wilson as well. This could be a good move by Tennessee. Think about this one. You want to hear a little game here? Rodgers goes to the Steelers. Joe Shane is desperate. You got to make some move or you got to trade up to the number 1 overall pick. All right, what's your next plan, your pivot plan? You can't get Rodgers, right? You couldn't get Stafford. You couldn't get Rodgers, let's just say. Oh, well, get Russell Wilson, right? He's waiting for us. And Tennessee goes, you know what, Russ? We want you to play quarterback because we really don't want to take a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick. Just possibility here. And then Tennessee is able to get more out of Joe Shane because Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are desperate, and then the Giants can move up to 1. Something to monitor there. But Aaron Rodgers, I'm wondering where he's going to go, right? People will throw out Minnesota. I don't think that's happening. I think they're going to J.J. McCarthy. People will throw out the Giants. I now believe, and I'd be surprised if Mike Tomlin doesn't get Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to a news brief next. We'll also take your phone calls, 855-212-4227. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Oh, a slight detour from free agent signings to a traditional trade, with the Texans sending 5-time Pro Bowler Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders for a 2nd and 4th round pick this year and a 3rd and 7th next year, while the Packers have signed guard Aaron Banks to a 4-year, $77 million deal. Sam Darnold was the top quarterback free agent on the market and now has a new home, coming to terms with the Seahawks on a 3-year deal that could reach as much as $110 million. And in Seattle, he's reunited with former 49ers offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. The next domino to fall was Justin Fields, the odd man out in Pittsburgh, finds a home with the Jets, 2 years, $30 million guarantee. The Carolina Panthers doling out a lot of money to keep one of their own as J.C. Horn gets a 4-year extension with $70 of the $100 million guaranteed. He is coming off his first Pro Bowl selection. Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams talked with the Panthers, but ultimately gets 4 years in New England, $104 million with $63 million guaranteed. Josh Sweat, also a former Eagle now, moving to Arizona for a 4-year deal with the Cardinals with $41 million in guaranteed money. And the Lions have signed corners Carlton Davis and DJ Reed. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, Packers news for you. Nate Hobbs, the defensive back, is expected to go to Green Bay, according to Ari Miroff of My Sports Update, in a 4-year, $48 million deal. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. A lot going on in the quarterback world. We found out, obviously, last week, Matthew Stafford agreed to a new deal, an altered deal. We still don't know the details of that with the LA Rams. You have Sam Darnold today, winded up in Seattle. Geno Smith over the weekend getting traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. Justin Fields is going to be the next quarterback of the Jets. We'll see how long that does last, and that's some of the quarterback news that has transpired in the last 2 to 3 days, and it is expected, nothing confirmed, but expected that Aaron Rodgers, I'm feeling, is going to be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go to Chris in California. He always has a thing or two to say about a certain quarterback. Chris, what's happening?
What's going on, Zach?
Nothing much. How you been? All right? Good? What do you got?
Yeah, I'm good. Dude, I see all these quarterbacks getting their second opportunity, their second stint, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
I will protest. I will boycott the NFL.
No, you won't.
If I see Pickett as a backup quarterback again next year. Gail Benson, I have 3 names for you. Dallas Goedert's on the market. Go get Jordan Addison and go get Kenny Pickett.
Wait, Jordan Addison to who?
To New Orleans.
But he's on the Vikings, still on his rookie deal. Why would they get rid of him?
Trade? Isn't that why you trade?
Yeah, but why would the Vikings want to trade right now? Like, if I'm the Vikings, you have Justin Jefferson and Addison together.
Draft picks, Todd?
Yeah, but I wouldn't care.
Draft picks?
But what are you getting, though, for Jordan Addison? You just use them in the first round. You're not getting a first-round pick back for him. I'm not making that trade if I'm Minnesota.
You could trade Chris Olave. I mean, Cam Jordan. I mean, you got plenty of pieces that you can go ahead and trade for him.
For who, though?
Chemistry on this guy.
Oh, for you're saying for Addison, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want Kenny Pickett to go to the Saints? Is not what you're pushing?
That's what I'm pushing for, man. It's got to happen. I'm telling you. Yeah,
but the problem is they just did that restructure with Derek Carr over the weekend.
I don't care. They gave Jalen Hurts a fat contract before Pickett came to Philly.
Yeah, but they gave Pickett that they made that move with Pickett to be a backup quarterback.
Derek Carr is a bum. All these bum quarterbacks that linger around.
No, he's like Derek Carr. I'm not a defender of Derek Carr, but he's like an average quarterback, Chris.
Okay, you're not looking to win a Super Bowl with an average quarterback.
But you're doing so with Kenny Pickett?
Yes, you will.
Chris, I think you just got to let this one go.
No, why doesn't the NFL let homeboy that just went to the Jets go, Justin Fields?
Okay,
let him go.
That's fine. There was more of a demand for Justin Fields than Kenny Pickett.
Well, I'm demanding Kenny Pickett.
Mm-hmm. You do that, you know? I heard you call Rich Eisen. We played that last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. At this point, I feel that there's a significant collusion going on.
Oh, collusion. There's no collusion against Kenny Pickett. Come on. He's not that good. And there's nothing against Kenny Pickett. I literally was texting with Kenny Pickett after the Super Bowl. I congratulated him on being a part of a Super Bowl winning team. But there's no collusion against Kenny Pickett. There's delusion with Chris in California, but there's no collusion. Can you imagine? Howie Roseman's on the line. No one trade for Kenny Pickett. If you do so, I'll make you pay. And the Saints literally just restructured this deal with Derek Carr. There's no collusion, Chris. There's just delusion with you. Man, how much does Kenny Pickett pay this guy? He calls every show on the network. Honestly, if you're a host on the network and you haven't got the Chris in California Kenny Pickett call, and it just gets nuttier, nothing against Chris. Nice guy. But sometimes we just dig our heels in on one person, and you can't just admit that you're wrong. All right? Kenny Pickett may go get another opportunity one day, but this idea that he has to be a starting quarterback next year, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And yes, there's more upside for Justin Fields than there is Kenny Pickett in this league. There is. So that's just the reality of that. Let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, let's go to Richard Sherman on the Richard Sherman podcast on the Geno Smith trade to the Raiders.
I know that there's a piece of the Seattle Seahawks fan base that feels like, we can do so much better than Geno. No, I don't think you can. But especially in this landscape. Now, if you said, hey, we have an opportunity to get one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League, and we got to get rid of Geno to get the draft pick to go get them, I would be able to understand. I'd be able to get behind that.
So let's just do this. Go around the room. Geno Smith, if let's say the Seahawks needed to give him another $40 to $45 million a year for 2 more years, like a 2-year extension, would you rather have an older Geno Smith or Sam Darnold on a $110.5 million deal that's $36.8 million a year? My calculator is right. And it's only $55 million guaranteed. What would you rather do, Geno Smith or Sam Darnold if you're the Seahawks? Stu?
I'd rather have Geno Smith.
Ooh, interesting. Samter?
Same.
I'd rather have Sam Darnold. He's going to be cheaper, and he's younger. And you're taking away anyway DK Metcalf and also Tyler Lockett. So let's just see what Sam can do. And maybe when you put more on Sam's plate, now in theory it won't work this way because there wasn't a lot on his plate, and he wasn't good. Then they put, they gave him more to work with, I should say, in Minnesota. He ended up being well. Now there's more on his plate where you're getting paid. You also don't have that much to work with. So let's see what you could do. But Geno kind of reached his apex in Seattle. It wasn't going anywhere next. For Sam, I'm not thinking he's going to be a great quarterback, and there's this high ceiling for Sam Darnold, but I'd rather get younger at the quarterback position, and you're not paying him that much money. It's $55 million guaranteed, and then you get out of the deal. So I would rather have Sam Darnold than Geno Smith for this upcoming year if I'm the Seahawks, where they're heading towards. Stu is going to the Lakers game tonight. When you got these tickets, it was a birthday gift, correct, Amundo?
Yes, back in November.
So you were probably looking for... Ooh, look at that at the time. You didn't know Luka Doncic was going to be on the Lakers, and you thought LeBron James would probably be playing.
That was the idea.
How long is LeBron out for?
I think a couple weeks, 1 to 2 weeks.
1 to 2 weeks, they said. So he's out with this groin injury. So LeBron James not going to be playing tonight. You think you see Bronny tonight? Get a little Bronny action?
Saw him when they played the Knicks a few weeks ago in the Garden. It's not the same thing, but you never know.
It's kind of like a gloomy birthday present now.
I mean, if Luka didn't play, I'd say yes.
Yeah, imagine you get a load management night tonight with Luka.
I mean, nothing would shock me.
Go to Junior's, get you a slice of cheesecake. That's what I would recommend then. Alrighty, there's a good soccer bar, by the way, close to the Barclays Center. I was there once with Sean Marash and Mike Biseglio going to a Nets game, and there was some soccer game on. The people were going nuts with whatever happening on the pitch. Here's LeBron James on his groin injury.
Not much concern. Obviously, we're going to day to day look at it each day, see if it gets better, and then take the proper measurements and see what we need to do going forward.
And then you find out he's out 1 to 2 weeks. Finally, here's Angel Reese on the Unapologetically Angel podcast. Are players ready to strike in the WNBA?
We deserve more.
Of course,
everybody.
I agree.
Everybody.
I agree with that.
But we got to get face the consequences. Damn, we got to get it up.
Y'all got to deal with something. Y'all got to do something.
I need to get in the. I need to get in the field.
You need to come to the
meetings. I got to get in the meetings because I'm hearing they don't give us. If y'all don't give us what we want, we sit out.
That's a possibility.
Let me tell you, if there's a strike in the W, it's going to be detrimental to that league. And I know we've seen a lot of strikes before and things like that, but there is some positive momentum for the WNBA women's basketball right now. And I'm sure the demands are going to be a little bit outrageous. You know, I don't think, right, the WNBA players are going to get paid what they want. Are they deserving of more? Sure, but how much more? And if you get delusional here in the asking price and you sit out, I think you're going to make a lot of people that are joining and watching, you're just going to have them jump and leave the bandwagon. Coming on back with some more football talk. It is the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, away we go. Hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Whole lot to do today. A lot of NFL news jumping around the National Football League. Obviously, we just had a trade. Laramie Tunsil and is going from the Texans to the Commanders. Commanders getting back a ton of picks, as we talked about earlier. And you look around the rest of the NFL, we found out over the weekend, Davante Adams is going to be landing with the LA Rams. You have Myles Garrett staying with the Cleveland Browns. The Seahawks pulling off a trade where they get rid of Geno Smith. They send him to the Raiders. Then Sam Darnold lands with the Seattle Seahawks. DK Metcalf gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're waiting to see what's going to transpire with Aaron Rodgers. So there's a whole lot of things that are happening in the NFL. My football team is the New England Patriots, and they found a way to go on out there and pull off a deal for Milton Williams, Robert Spillane, Harold Landry. You also got Carlton Davis. So a lot's cooking right now when we take a look around the National Football League, and more is going to happen throughout the rest of the day. Gary Myers is tweeting me right now. So I put out a take. More is getting put on Sam Darnold's plate, but the Seahawks signing him is a low-risk move. $55 million guaranteed as low risk? I guess it is when it's not your money, is what Gary Myers is saying. I like Gary. He is a old-school journalist, right? But I think you got to adapt with the times now. It's 2025. $55 million guaranteed for a quarterback is not a lot now in the year of 2025. You know, maybe when Gary first started covering football, I don't know when Gary, he's been covering for a long time. So I'm not just going to throw out a number because then people will be like, oh, you take a shot at the guy. I'm not. Gary's a very good writer. But Gary's also the same guy that was like slobbering over Derek Carr back in week 1 or week 2 and decided to go at it with me a little bit. I like Gary. He's a friend. With that being said, though, $55 million is low risk. Yeah, it is. In the year of 2025 on a quarterback contract, yes, it is, Gary. If this was back when you were covering the Giants with Kerry Collins or Phil Simms, that would be a little bit different. But now in the year of 2025, yes, that is a low-risk move. So it's all right. You'll adapt with the times. It's good. But anyway, let's do this with quarterbacks now around the league, and then we'll make some predictions where other quarterbacks are going to be going. So you look at Matthew Stafford. That was the first domino to fall. Thank God the Rams didn't get rid of Matthew Stafford. Because where would Matthew Stafford have gone that would have elicited an ooh and an ah, I'm interested? The Jets? No. The Giants? No. Maybe the Steelers. But are the Steelers a better destination than the Rams? No. So good on the Rams. Good on Matthew Stafford for getting a deal done. A lot of the reporting is that the Giants had a deal done. Like they agreed to compensation, agreed to what they were going to give the Rams back in a trade, and also give Matthew Stafford a new deal. And it was Stafford who was like, yeah, I got cold feet. I was trying to make the Rams blink first. They didn't blink, so now I'll blink. And I'll keep on blinking and blinking and blinking and blinking because he wanted to stay with the Rams. The New York Jets have agreed to a $40 million contract on a 2-year deal, $30 million guaranteed with Justin Fields. So you have Justin Fields reuniting with his college teammate in Garrett Wilson. And you look at Justin Fields and the Jets, all right, you got Breece Hall. The offensive line still needs a lot of work. The Jets have a good defense in terms of talent. It's not as good as what they think they are, but you got some names there in Sauce Gardner, in Quinnen Williams. You got some good players on that defense side. Well, they lost DJ Reed. He's signing with the Lions. It's a good move by the Lions. But now you have Justin Fields. And what's the next move? Is this just okay? You throw Justin Fields out there for 2 years or a year and you see what happens? Right? Because $30 million guaranteed is low risk in terms of contracts for NFL quarterbacks. It's low risk. Now, Gary Myers probably on line one. What is he talking about, Zach? What is he talking about? That's not low risk. It's not my money, Gary. It's not your money. It's the NFL money. Look how players are paid right now. So I look at Justin Fields. I think this is Sam Darnold light. Like what the Seahawks are doing with Sam Darnold, I think it's the same thing that the Jets are doing with Justin Fields, where it's like, all right, let's see. If it doesn't work a year or two from now, we're out of this and we pretty much skate free. But for Justin Fields, he's a tremendous runner of the football. I think the defense will be improved under Aaron Glenn. He has to work on his accuracy. Is this the worst option in the world? No. Is it the best option? Obviously not. But I don't think this takes the Jets out of the running to go draft a quarterback too. So let's say Cam Ward goes 1, and then for whatever reason, Shedeur Sanders doesn't get drafted by the Browns, the Giants, and the Raiders. So I think one of those 3 teams would draft him. If the Jets are there at 7 and a quarterback falls, they could still take him, or they could take the best player on the board, whether it's a Tyler Warren, a Mason Graham, or whomever. Maybe Will Johnson. We'll see what ends up happening there. So I'm fine with this Jets move, but what are the Jets going to be next year? I think if everything goes right for the Jets, maybe they're an 8-win team. Maybe. 8-9-win team. I don't expect them to be a playoff team next year. The Raiders trading for Geno Smith. This is familiarity at its finest. Pete Carroll knows Geno Smith. Geno Smith knows Pete Carroll. For whatever reason, whether it was, and there's been reports that have contradicted this, the Seahawks not wanting to pay Geno Smith, Geno maybe not wanting to stay there. I thought the Geno Smith experiment and experience in Seattle, it worked. It was better than what anyone else could have imagined. Who had Geno Smith making a little resurgence, right? You wrote him off. He didn't write back. But none of us thought we'd be in a position to write Geno Smith back. He was an afterthought in the NFL. I remember they had Drew Lock and they had Geno Smith out there. After Russell Wilson got dealt to the Broncos, everyone thought Drew Lock was going to be the quarterback. And Geno won the job, and they made the playoffs that one year. And he had that fumble in the postseason game up against the 49ers, and that thing just really blew wide open. So, yeah, I look at Geno Smith. Thanks for the memories if you're a Seahawks fan, but you needed to start to make that next step. The only thing that I wonder with Seattle is they tear too much down. I'm fine with moving off of Geno Smith. More than fine with it. But getting rid of DK Metcalf. All right, Lockett, he's getting up there in age. Very underrated player. But I thought that team wasn't that far away. And they've taken a big step back this offseason. Now, Geno goes to the Raiders. It's kind of an incomplete feeling. Where, okay, there's familiarity, right? Geno could be a top 15 quarterback in this league. He at best, maybe he's the 10th best quarterback in football if everything goes right. But just like Sam Darnold, right, who is leaving a place where there were a lot of weapons, now Geno Smith goes to the Raiders. What are the weapons? Brock Bowers is nice. Jacoby Myers is a solid player. But who else is there? So it's almost an incomplete grade for me with the Raiders because they got to see what they do in navigating this free agency. But more importantly, what they do with the very high draft pick, 6 overall in the draft. Because if they draft a quarterback, Geno Smith's just a mentor until that quarterback's ready. But if you go get an offensive weapon in there, I'm not saying that the Raiders are going to the playoffs. Let's slow the roll a little bit. But can they be a watchable product? Can Stu actually look forward to tuning into his Raiders? And they actually, not that they're building towards a contender, but you could have November roll around and actually give you a reason to want to watch the Raiders. And then the Seahawks with Sam Darnold. I said this once. I said it twice. I said it 3 times. I'll say it again. Low risk, medium to high size reward. I'm curious what Sam Darnold will be in Seattle, outdoors. Doesn't have the safety blanket of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. You got some pieces there in Seattle, right? You got a Jackson Smith and Jigba. You got Kenneth Walker. You got Noah Fant. But there is a regression and a fall off and a drop off from the talent that you had in Minnesota. Minnesota! So now he's in Seattle, and I think this is let's mess around, right? This is, hey, we matched. Hey, we're going on a date. Hey, we like each other. Hey, none of us really know if this is going to go to marriage, but we're going to continue to see one another. And ultimately, either it will work and they'll get married, or the Seahawks in a year or two from now will be like, yeah, this didn't work. It was only $55 million guaranteed. We're out. All right? So that's kind of the quarterbacks and what happened so far. Now, we don't know what the Steelers are going to do. We don't know what the Browns are going to do. We don't know what the Giants are going to do. We don't know what the Vikings are going to do. We don't know what the Tennessee Titans are going to do. So, Stu, fire up my football music, please. And give me the team, and I'll tell you what I think they're going to do right now.
The Tennessee Titans.
Cam Ward. I think they're going to take Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Could they potentially be using the Giants here? Because if Aaron Rodgers, we'll get to him in a second, doesn't go to the Giants, and then there's a report out there that Tennessee's trying to sign Russell Wilson, could they take another Giant option off the table? And then the Giants could fear, Tennessee may go quarterback at 1, Cleveland may go quarterback at 2, and then we're SOL for the second year in a row with the jobs on the line for Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. They couldn't, and maybe they have to give up more to go get up to number 1. But I still don't think the price is going to be rich enough where Tennessee, if they're going to move off the pick, it would be to the Giants. But if I'm Tennessee, if it's just a swap of 1s, a 3 and 2 3s, or a swap of 1s, a 3 and a 2, I don't think that's enough for me personally to move back to 3. We'll see what Mike Borgonzi ends up doing. But if I'm Tennessee, I would draft Cam Ward.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Aaron Rodgers. And you know why I want to see this move happen even more? Because Hickey doesn't want to see it happen. Like, I saw Hickey in the newsroom who couldn't identify a good quarterback if it was sitting right in front of him. And I'm not saying there's not reasons to be skeptical, and I'm not saying there aren't reasons to doubt Aaron Rodgers, but you would think like Hickey has this long lineage of being surrounded by great quarterbacks. All I've heard for the last 2 years from Hickey is how great Drew Allen is going to be. All I heard how great was Carson Wentz was going to be with the Indianapolis Colts, and how he told me that Anthony Richardson has the potential to be the best quarterback in football when they drafted him. How do all those work out? So Hickey's sitting in the newsroom, right? He is firing up the hot takes, and he's like, Aaron Rodgers Steelers would be an absolute disaster. They've already regressed. And I'm like, how have they already regressed? I go, they just got DK Metcalf. Rodgers, say what you want about him, and he's not what he once was, but he's better still than Justin Fields. He's better than Russell Wilson. You know, George Pickens, I'm not saying he's going to be all that happy, but George Pickens is at least still there. They're probably going to lose Najee Harris. He's like, defense stinks. Defense regressed last year. Defense didn't play well, but maybe they could be improved. And maybe they can get back to what they've been the last few years. I'm not ready to say the Steelers defense all of a sudden sucks and then it blows. So the Steelers is what they always do. We always criticize them in the offseason. They're not what the Steelers used to be. Trust me, I've done this more than anybody. And then we say right before the start of the season, this is the year Mike Tomlin's going to finish below 500. This is the year that Mike Tomlin's going to miss the playoffs. And they keep on finishing above 500. They keep on going to the postseason. I think Aaron Rodgers, I would be shocked at this point. And nothing should shock me with the Steelers, but I'd be shocked at this point if Aaron Rodgers does not wind up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And at least they're fun. At least they're intriguing. And could they win a playoff game with Aaron Rodgers? Yes. Can they do more than that? Probably not. But if you put Rodgers with Pickens, Rodgers with Metcalf, Rodgers with Tomlin, yeah, why can't that team be 10-7 and be playing on Wild Card Weekend? So I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers for the Steelers.
The Indianapolis Colts.
They are going to give Anthony Richardson every opportunity. Could Joe Flacco come back as the backup quarterback? Yes. I'm going to say they signed Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston is the backup quarterback option where if it goes really south with Indianapolis and Anthony Richardson, then Jameis is serviceable enough and he's a good locker room guy, and players like him. So I'll say Jameis Winston for the Indianapolis Colts.
The Cleveland Browns.
This is the toughest one. I have two options. I think either the Cleveland Browns will draft Shedeur Sanders or Kirk Cousins is just out there. Now, he's not available in terms of he's free to sign wherever he wants. You have to trade for him. But if Cleveland passes on Shedeur in the draft, I don't think right now there's a lot of movement for Kirk Cousins. I would, at this point, I'm not saying I'd be shocked if he gets traded before the draft, but I would be surprised if he gets traded before the draft. I think the Kirk Cousins thing is going to take a while, and I think he may be an option for teams after the draft. But right now, Kirk Cousins really has no leverage because Terry Fontenot and also the head football coach and Raheem Morris is like, hey, we have Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. is our guy. We're basically paying him nothing because he's on a rookie contract. We've already paid Kirk. So we're fine with waiting and Kirk being unhappy. So I could see Kirk Cousins winding up with the Browns, familiarity with Kevin Stefanski going back to their days in Minnesota. Minnesota! If the Browns pass on Shedeur Sanders. But the Browns, to me, I'm not saying Abdul Carter is off the board completely, but I think the chances of him landing there and what our theories were that they were trading Myles Garrett, they have decreased significantly because they kept Myles Garrett and paid him. So could you go get Abdul Carter, load up in the pass rusher? Sure. But I'm starting to think that it's not Abdul Carter. So at 2, if Cam Ward's still there, okay, you draft him. But if he's off the board, I believe that decision then becomes Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter. So I'm going to say for the Browns, it's either going to be Shedeur Sanders or Kirk Cousins.
The New York Giants.
Russell Wilson. I think Rodgers is off to the Steel City. And I think Russell Wilson is going to sign a 1-year deal with the Giants where he's in a spot where he may think he's the guy, but he may not be the guy. Because the Giants just signing Russell Wilson would not prevent them, would not preclude them from maybe still moving up to 1 and getting Cam Ward or taking Shedeur Sanders at 3. If it's just Russell Wilson and only Russell Wilson this offseason for the Giants, then Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, I think you should start packing your bags. Because you need to go bring in some more long-term hope or a more exciting move than that could actually help you win some football games. Sure, Malik Neighbors is a heck of a player. Yes, I like Tyrone Tracy Jr., but there's not enough there for me to say, oh, Russell Wilson's going to save the job if it's only Russell Wilson for Brian Daboll and Joe Shane.
The Minnesota Vikings.
I would make J.J. McCarthy the starting quarterback. Sam Darnold's now off in Seattle. I still think you need a backup option in there if JJ's not ready for some reason by the start of the season, or he may not be ready for the start of training camp still with the long recovery from the injury and some of the complications there. They made a move at the end of the year to bring in Daniel Jones. At this rate, I would just bring back Daniel Jones and have him be the backup quarterback with the full intention that J.J. McCarthy is your starting quarterback. So those are some predictions as we look at the lay of the land in the NFL when it comes to the quarterbacks, with Stafford staying with the Rams, Justin Fields going to the Jets, Geno Smith going to the Raiders, and the Seahawks landing Sam Darnold. We'll come on back. We will do a little onside, offside when we return on this very busy, how should I say this? Legal Tampering Monday. What a stupid term, but I love it. Legal tampering could be my 2 favorite words in sports. Coming on back, Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All righty, we may have a little social media drama with a wide receiver. Now, I just got to make sure that this is legitimate because it's from an aggregator site. And this one's usually reliable, but you always got to double check these things. So let's see. I'm not seeing it on this person's Instagram. It was something related with Jamar Chase. So until I get a second source and actually see it from someone other than the person that posted it, even though I respect that person, maybe we'll hold off on that one. See, that's how you handle something. When you see something, you don't immediately just say something. You go, wait a second, let's just see. And then you double check it, even if it always happened right as we come back on the air, and we continue to move on. So anyway, Stu. By the way, Stu, you looking good today. Purple hat, purple sweatshirt. You look like you could be a pimp, if I'm being honest.
Oh, great. Okay.
I'm telling you. You should have like a pimp stick or something, walk around. Maybe like a little mink coat, show up to the Lakers game tonight? Where are you sitting? Do you know?
200s. Nothing crazy.
Okay.
Expensive game. Always is when the Lakers are in town.
Yeah, by the way, I got in a little, not hot water. I stand by everything I said, but a lot of people are coming after me this weekend with my Draymond Green take where I called him a heartless a-hole for having no empathy for what's going on with Karl Anthony Towns. And I said someone on the Knicks, next time they play each other, which is actually next week, I didn't realize that in the moment, should punch Draymond Green in the face because Karl Anthony Towns had a family friend that passed away from breast cancer, and you have this dope in Draymond Green who is all of a sudden saying, it's because he's ducking Jimmy Butler. So I then took a shot at Draymond. Now, I'm not saying I forced this signing, but the Knicks ended up signing P.J. Tucker. If there is someone that would punch Draymond, I do think it would be P.J. Tucker. So they signed him to a 10-day contract. But all these people, why don't you punch him in the face? Why don't you go after Draymond Green? So some guy, he did this like video, saying, Zach Gelb should man up and should punch him in the face. I go, okay, you want me to punch Draymond Green? How about I use a Draymond move and I just kick him in the cojones? That's what I should end up doing. Ridiculous. People like freak out, lose their mind. I stand by everything I said. There was a very nice write-up done, by the way, about my take on Draymond Green. So appreciate the folks at Awful Announcing for writing up that thing. But anyway, we could continue. Too bad that Draymond isn't sucking off the teat of LeBron James as a player for the Lakers. Then I could have sent Stu out there tonight to just boo Draymond Green, but he's with the Warriors now. Anyway, what do we got cooking here?
So there was a bevy of movement.
By the way, this is your fault.
Oh, boy. Oh, no. What did I do?
So right before you went away on vacation, I put my foot in my mouth. I said, hey, I'm starting to like Draymond again. Where it was because I liked the way that he interacted with some of the fans at the Knicks-Warriors game that I was at. And I said, I like what he said at All-Star Weekend. And it was when Samter was out on that Tuesday, right before you went on vacation. And I said, all right, maybe for a month I won't say anything negative about Draymond Green. And I forgot about this, but a listener reminded me about it. And Stu was supposed to get on the air and be like, you can't say anything negative about Draymond Green. And when I went off on Draymond, which I'm glad I did, since Samter wasn't privy to that, since he wasn't here on that Tuesday, and you were on vacation in Arizona going on your spring training tour, there was no one to check me on that. So I got a few tweets. I thought you weren't saying anything negative about Draymond. Well, I didn't know Draymond was going to go attack a player who just had to bury one of his family friends because, unfortunately, she passed away from breast cancer. So I don't think I'm in the wrong there, to be clear.
I'll take the blame for
that. And
also,
rules are made to be broken on this show. Let's just be real. All righty, what do we got?
There was a bevy of movement across the NFL this weekend, but one player is staying put, and that is Panthers star corner J.C. Horn. The former first-round pick signed a massive 4-year extension worth $100 million, making him the highest-paid defensive back in NFL history. Now, during his 4 years in the NFL, Horn has made just one Pro Bowl and no All-Pro teams. So onsides, offsides, J.C. Horn is a top 3 cornerback in the NFL.
J.C. Horn's a very good cornerback. I loved him coming out of college, out of South Carolina. Obviously comes from a football family. A top 3 he just doesn't stay healthy enough. When he's healthy, he's an awesome player. But right now, if you said, Zach, top 3 corners in the NFL, I would say my guy Pat Surtain in at 1, Sauce Gardner 2, Derek Stingley 3. I would say those are the 3 best defensive backs right now in the NFL. So J.C. Horn's very good, but top 3 corner in the NFL, I'm going offside.
Offside!
2 future Hall of Fame pass rushers got different news this weekend as the Chargers re-signed Khalil Mack to a 1-year, $18 million deal, while in Buffalo, the Bills cut Von Miller. Both Miller and Mack are former Defensive Player of the Years with 3 first-team All-Pro selections, though Miller has 129.5 sacks compared to Mack's 107.5 sacks.
By the way, I'm done responding to Gary Myers.
Uh-oh.
So I responded back to his tweet when I just simply said that this 3-year, $110.5 million deal for Sam Darnold is low risk, medium size to high size reward. He goes, $55 million is guaranteed low risk. I guess it's not. I guess it is when it's not your money. And I said, in the year of 2025 and at the QB position, yes, $55 million guaranteed is low risk. If they regret it a year from now, it's easy to get out of. He's the 18th in the league in quarterback guarantee money. So he writes back, so if it turns out to be 1 year of Darnold for $55 million, it was low risk. That's as much as any QB average in NFL history. I suppose you thought 2 years of Daniel Jones for $80 million was low risk too. This is what Gary Myers does. He just argues with you, and he wants you to just say that he's right. Gary, I gave you my take. My take is simply this. For what quarterbacks are paid in 2025, not 1963 when you first started covering football, in the year of 2025, yes, if I, after a year from now, say Sam Darnold sucks, Sam Darnold blows, which if you watch the video, I acknowledge that could be the case because there's a lot more being asked out of him in Seattle. So if a year from now they realize Sam Darnold sucks and it only cost them $55 million, yes, relative to quarterbacks, it still allows them to do other things in the future and doesn't pigeonhole them like what happened to the Cleveland Browns, giving $230 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson. So relative to the position and the outs in the contract, yes, it's still a low-risk move. Capiche? All righty. Let's continue still. That's the last time I think we mentioned Gary Monk.
Didn't know he covered Wyatt Tittle. I didn't know that. So anyways, onside, offsides.
It's a good line.
Von Miller has had the better career than Khalil Mack.
Ooh. Did you even read the question, by the way? Sorry. I kind of emotionally blacked out there.
I did.
Von Miller's had the better career than Khalil Mack? Yeah, absolutely. On sides. Is this a trick question? Von Miller's won a Super Bowl MVP. So, yeah, I think Khalil Mack has been a heck of a player, but Von Miller, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Fame. Now, it's off the field stuff, so maybe he doesn't get in first ballot, but to me, Von Miller's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Khalil Mack is a Hall of Famer. I don't think he gets in on the first try, though. And also, Von Miller won a Super Bowl MVP. So, yeah, Von Miller's had a better career. Khalil Mack's a better guy, though. Like, just a human being. But we continue.
For the second time this year, the Cavs have a winning streak of at least 14 games, extending their streak yesterday with a win over the Bucks. Now, over the course of the streak, the Cavs have beaten the second seed in the East Celtics, the third seed in the East Knicks, and then the fourth seed Bucks, ballooning their lead in the conference to 8 games over the Celtics.
Ballooning, I like that.
Onside, offsides, you believe the Cavs will come out of the East this season?
I am still in the same line of thinking as Jared Greenberg of NBA on TNT, who I did see at the the Warriors-Knicks game that I was at 2 weeks ago. He's doing the reporting as I'm walking by. He goes, "Hey, Zach, what's up?" I'm like, "You're like working. You're on the broadcast." He's like, "Oh, I have like a lull here where they don't go to me for 3 or 4 minutes." So we talked for like a minute or two. Very nice guy. But I agree with Jared that I think the Celtics still are the team that comes out of the East, and then it's the Cleveland Cavaliers if it's not the Boston Celtics. So I'm still going with the Celtics. You asked me, you believe the Cavs will come out of the East? I go offside. No way.
We have breaking news on the Zach Gelb Show.
Is this actual breaking news, or is this like some irrelevant corner signing with somebody?
We have a quarterback on the move.
Rodgers?
Chris in California will be very disappointed to hear that the Eagles are trading quarterback Kenny Pickett to the Cleveland Browns for a 5th-round pick and Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
No way!
Kenny Pickett to the Browns.
See, Chris in California, he was accusing collusion in the NFL. And I said, no, it's delusion, Chris. But he said, no, it's collusion. They're colluding against my guy and Kenny Pickett. And now Kenny Pickett just got traded to the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 5th-round pick and quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So Chris in California, was it really collusion or was it more delusion? Uh-oh. Ken Carman does this whole thing. Super Bowl! Super Browns! I'll tell you this. Chris in California right now is the only person that is sitting there saying, Super Bowl! Super Browns! Because he thinks the Browns can now win a Super Bowl with Kenny Pickett.
Forgetting what they might do at number 2. If you had to choose between a healthy Deshaun Watson or Kenny Pickett, if you're the Browns, who are you going with?
I would, or. Jeez. Or. One guy has small hands. The other guy, I would never want his hands on me in Deshaun Watson. Like, geez, Deshaun, what a creep that guy is. All right, anyway, can we get back up to onside, offside right there?
All right, so the Lakers finally lost, falling to the Celtics in Boston on Saturday. And worse yet, LeBron suffered a groin injury that will keep him out 1 to 2 weeks as Luka looks to hold.
That was an uncomfortable joke, by the way. Samter looked at me. He was like, ooh.
You towed that line and didn't cross it.
Yeah,
You were right there in the gray area.
I was fine.
Yeah.
I said hands on me.
Yeah.
You know, people, I think they know the way that joke's supposed to go because Deshaun Watson's a despicable human being. But anyway, continue.
So Luka, he looks to hold off the Nuggets for the number 2 seed in the West after Jokic put up NBA's first ever 30-20-20 triple-double on Friday night. Onsides, offsides, you still have more faith in the Nuggets than the Lakers this year.
Yes, the injury to LeBron, I think, plays a factor into this. And I like Denver with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. I've always had. And, hey, the Joker's just unbelievable. So, yeah, I think the like if you say, Zach, you get 3 picks coming out of the West right now, I would say Thunder in no order. Thunder, I'll give it to you in order. Thunder, Nuggets, Lakers. Those would be my 3. So Memphis, no. Warriors, no. So, yes, onsides. I still have more faith in the Nuggets than the Lakers. Onsides. Next one.
Steph Curry's career is winding down, and he's thinking about his life after basketball. This week, the former Davidson star accepted the role of assistant GM for his alma mater.
What was your trendsetter?
Becoming the first active athlete to take an administrative job with an NCAA team. Onsides, offsides, you're okay with active players taking major roles in other sports?
So, yes, onsides, here's why. What is Steph Curry really doing day to day with Davidson as the assistant GM? I think this is a donation, and then when he retires, maybe he could just do whatever he wants. You know, I'm sure there's some speaking that goes on there. You learn the business side of it. This is not, 1975 where we're like, oh, athletes can only do one thing. I don't have any issue with this, and I really don't know if I would consider this a major role in other sports. So I would go onsides on that.
The Yankees got some bad news as they were dreading, as reports say, that Garrett Cole has been recommended to have Tommy John after feeling tightness during his last start. Now, Cole and the Yankees are seeking a second opinion, but it doesn't look good either way for the 2023 AL Cy Young winner. Onsides, offsides, the Yankees can still make a World Series run without Cole.
You know the happiest person is right now? Marcus Stroman. Because he has that innings limit to kick in the contract next year on the money. And he was like, hey, I'm a starter, not a reliever. And I said, well, you shouldn't trade Marcus Stroman if you're the Yankees. He's your 6th starter, and then injuries could happen. Luis Gil is now injured, and also Garrett Cole is now injured. So Marcus Stroman, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be in the starting rotation. Without Cole, the Yankees could still make a World Series run without Cole. Yes, they could still get to the World Series because the AL is such a question. But could they beat the Dodgers in the World Series? Could they beat the Mets in the World Series? Just naming 2 teams in the NL? No, I do not think so. But the Yankees, they have built their team with the strengths being in the starting rotation and the bullpen. If you're ordering like 1, 2, and 3, starting rotation, bullpen lineup, the Yankees have gone starting rotation, bullpen lineup. Where if you look at like a team across town in the Mets, it has been lineup, bullpen, starting rotation. So the Yankees, it's not good to lose Cole, especially if you lose him for the whole season. We'll see what Rodon could do. You have Max Fried. We'll see when Luis Gil's coming back. You still got Stroman, and you got Clark Schmidt. So the Yankees still have some pieces. They could go on a run. Are they going to win the World Series? No, but the Yankees still make a run to the World Series without Cole. Onsides.
Number 1, Auburn suffered its 2nd straight loss, falling to rival Alabama on Saturday. Then saw number 2, Duke beat rival UNC, while number 3, Houston, number 4, Tennessee, number 5, Florida, and number 6, St. John's all winning.
Let's go, Johnnies.
Onsides, offsides, Duke is the best team in college basketball.
I said this a month ago that I thought Duke was winning the national championship this year. So not that that's a hot take, so I will stick with that right now. Duke is the best team in college basketball on sides.
All right, last one here. Over in the UFC, Alex Pereira, he lost the light heavyweight belt to Magomed Ankalaev in a unanimous decision. It was Pereira's first loss since 2023 and extended Ankalaev's unbeaten streak to 14 straight fights. Onsides, offsides, Alex Pereira losing was actually good for the UFC.
I was so annoyed about this. Alex Pereira is one of my favorite athletes to watch in all of sports right now. And I did a little parlay. I think it was like $40 to win $180. Justin Gaethje, Alex Pereira. Gaethje won, and I was going to cash out. I could have got $80 back because even as big of a Pereira fan I was nervous for this fight. Now, I'm not irate that Pereira lost in terms of the scoring. The last judge that went 49-46 in the on that card is just ridiculous. But Pereira left it open. It was a boring fight. It didn't live up to the hype. I thought it was 2-2 going into the final round. And, like, Pereira won the last round, but I don't think he did it in convincing fashion. So I can't knock, right, the scoring too much. But, no, this is horrible for the UFC. Because Alex Pereira is one of the biggest draws, if not the biggest draw that the UFC has right now. So you'll eventually get this Aspinall-John Jones fight. There was a lot of momentum moving for Pereira to get the winner of John Jones-Aspinall, and a lot of people are hoping we see John Jones up against Pereira. Now, you're probably going to get a rematch here, but Pereira losing stops that momentum for Pereira moving up another weight class and getting whoever would have won between Jones and Aspinall. So Alex Pereira losing was actually good for the UFC. No, it wasn't. The UFC has a star problem. Alex Pereira was arguably their biggest star that consistently fights, and he takes a lot of fights, so this isn't good when he loses in what was a boring fight. So I'm going offside.
Offside.
Alrighty, we will take a timeout. We'll come on back. We will discuss the Josh Allen monster contract. But update time first. This man is not a monster. He's a very good individual, and he's phenomenal at his job. Here he is, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network, Sports Flash.
A lot of pressure on me. The Commanders have had a busy offseason and added another big name, acquiring Laramie Tunsil from the Texans. Washington gave up 4 draft picks for the 5-time Pro Bowler as they give up a 2nd and 4th round of this year, a 3rd and 7th next year. Free agency was off and running, and we had clarity on Sam Darnold's future, signing with Seattle as expected after the Geno Smith deal. The former 3rd pick overall gets a 3-year deal worth $100 million. $55 million is guaranteed. Basically the same deal offered to Geno Smith, who passed and is now with the Raiders. Justin Fields moved on from the Steelers, landing in New York with the Jets. A 2-year deal worth a total of $40 million, and $30 million is guaranteed. J.C. Horn is staying put. The Pro Bowl corner gets a 4-year extension from the Panthers that guarantees him $70 million. Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams heads to New England after flirting with the Panthers. He gets a 4-year deal with $63 million guaranteed. Javon Kinlaw heading to Washington for a 3-year, $45 million deal. And Josh Sweat also leaving the Eagles to sign with the Cardinals, 4 years and over $40 million guaranteed. I'm Rich Eck.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. David in Buffalo says, Zach, do you think Josh Allen will win a Super Bowl on his new record-breaking contract? You can submit a question by tweeting at INF SportsCenter at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I'll get to that question, and I will answer it in just a second. But the Colts have made a free agent signing. You know, we were talking about in the newsroom, right? My team made some moves today. They got Moses Morgan. They got Harold Landry from over the weekend. They also got Robert Spillane. Sorry, Stu, we took him from you. They got Milton Williams. They got Carlton Davis. My team's like drunken sailors right now. You know, for years I was in the penthouse. Now I'm like in the outhouse, and I know what it's like to be a regular football fan where my team's not winning games, and I'm excited over free agency, and I'm taking all the bait of all the mock drafts that are out there. Stu's like looking at me like, that's been my life for 20 years. Now you get it. Well, sort of I get it. But I also have 6 rings, so I also sort of don't get it. So my team's making moves. Stu's team is making moves. They traded for Geno Smith. Even Samter's team is making moves. I think he's identifying today as a Jet fan. There's other days that he will say he's a Chiefs fan. But they got Justin Fields. And I'm like, where's Hickey's team? What are they doing? Well, Charvarius Ward, I just broke this news to Hickey in the newsroom, which, by the way, Hickey is wearing like a puffy white jacket. Remember when Kurt Warner wore that silver jacket for NFL broadcasts? and it was like really puffy, but it looked small. That's the white version of that jacket that Hickey's wearing now in the newsroom. But anyway, Hickey's Colts are signing free agent cornerback Charvarius Ward, the former Niner, to a 3-year deal worth $60 million per Shefty, Adam Schefter.
And I forgot earlier, they also added Cam Bynum from the Vikings as well, the safety.
Okay.
So kind of like redoing.
Beefing up their secondary. They needed to. People thought Javon Holland could have been in play there. So that's what the Colts end up doing. Like, where are the Colts headed? You look at that division. The Texans, even though they got rid of Laramie Tunsil today, the Texans are a good team. Like, they're the standard right now in the AFC South, but is it a standard that you can't blow past? No, you could. The Jaguars, I got to see what they end up doing. They got rid of a lot of guys over the weekend. Now they have Trevor Lawrence. You got Liam Cohen. And then you look at Tennessee. Tennessee's nowhere close. So the Colts, yeah, they have Jonathan Taylor. Yes, they have Michael Pittman. Yeah, they have Pierce, that other wide receiver. But Anthony Richardson, to me, I just think is a social media quarterback where he makes like 1 or 2 throws or 1 or 2 big runs that you're like, oh, wow, this is awesome. But then when push comes to shove, he doesn't do that consistently enough to say that he's a franchise quarterback. And it seems like the Colts they'll eventually address the backup quarterback position. But I thought they would challenge Anthony Richardson a little bit more, especially since that coaching staff did bench him when he was out of breath this year after he tapped himself out and took himself out of the game. Anyway, back to David in Buffalo, which he was asking me about Josh Allen if he'll win a Super Bowl on this contract. So for people that did not see, Josh Allen, money. Adam Schefter, a new NFL mark. The Bills and Josh Allen reached an agreement on a new record-breaking 6-year, $333 million contract that includes $250 million guaranteed. The largest guarantee ever given to an NFL player, sources tell the ESPN. Allen had 4 years left on his deal, but the Bills still rewarded their franchise quarterback with a new benchmark deal. So, I'm going to say now, with 6 years left on this contract, the Bills will win a Super Bowl. Here's why. Eventually, there has to be a year or two that Patrick Mahomes doesn't get to the big game. Now, we've had one of those years. Joe Burrow got through. Joe Burrow, he didn't really do anything wrong in the big game, but that offensive line, they just needed to hold Aaron Donald for another quarter of a second. And if they could have done that, Jamar Chase was wide open down that right sideline. I actually took a video. I was trying to go viral at the Super Bowl. There was a few Rams fans that were around me at that Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium, and they were celebrating after they took the lead. And I took one of those videos, shaking my head, saying, with all these fans celebrating, they don't know what's coming. Too much time left for Joe Burrow. And as Joe Burrow was starting to move that ball down the field, I was like, oh, here we go. And then they had Jamar Chase wide open, but then Aaron Donald threw Joe Burrow around like he was a rag doll because they couldn't block him. But not to continue on with that story, to get back to the question, Josh Allen's right there. And I could be wrong, but in the next 6 years, there has to be a year that he's either up against Mahomes and they take down Mahomes, or someone else takes out Mahomes and then they advance to the next round and then Allen gets the job done. But I equate it to Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in the early part of that Patriots dynasty. The Patriots own the Colts. The Patriots own Peyton Manning. And then eventually, number 18 got through, got there, and got the job done. And I would like to think that Josh Allen, who is the second best quarterback in football, Mahomes is the first, Allen is the second, then Lamar Jackson 3, Burrow 4, Jalen Hurts 5. I would like to think that Josh Allen's going to go win a Super Bowl one time in the next 6 years. And if I'm still asking this question 6 years from now, then obviously I'm going to have to say no. Real quickly, Stu, have you watched the show The Traitors?
Have not.
I didn't know if your girlfriend made you watch that. Sam, do you have any idea? The Traitors?
Is it Traders or traders? Like
Just can you answer the question here?
I don't know.
You're making fun of my speech impediment. I don't like it.
Is it traders or traitors?
Which, have you watched the show, yes or no?
No.
Oh. It was recommended to me. And there's been 3 seasons. It was recommended to watch the 3rd season. Someone recommended it to me. 11 or 12 episodes. I binge watched this thing in 3 days. Already done. Excellent. If you like fun, mindless reality TV, The Traitors. Very good. We'll see who murders. All righty. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Stu, thank you as always. Samter, thank you as always. Pat P, appreciate him jumping on the program today. Patrick Peterson. and a lot of NFL news that did go down. There will be more throughout the rest of the day, so keep it locked here on the Infinity Sports Network as the JR Sport Brief is coming up next on many of these same Infinity Sports Network affiliates. We'll be back tomorrow. We will see what happens in day 2 of the illegal tampering window, or legal tampering window. Illegal or legal? Oh, it's legal tampering window. Alrighty, I'm Zach Gelb. I'm out. Bye-bye. Peace.